You react, you repeat, you struggle, and you wonder why life feels the same again and again. You change the partner, but the pain remains the same. You change the job, but the anxiety follows you like a shadow. You move to a new city, but you pack your old misery in your suitcase and take it with you. The reason is simple, though it is very difficult for the ego to accept. The child you once were is still running your life. This is not your fault. Let this sink in deep within you. It is not your fault. It is unconscious conditioning. But while it is not your fault, it is your responsibility. Because once it becomes conscious, it loses its power. Darkness can only exist in the absence of light. Your conditioning can only control you in the absence of awareness. In this sharing, I will show you how your childhood has shaped your fears, your relationships, and your sense of self without you even noticing it. We are going to perform a surgery today, a surgery of the soul. It may be sharp, it may hurt a little, but it is necessary to remove the cancer of the past. But before we descend into this deep ocean of the human psyche, I invite you to join this communion. If you want to support this message, if you want these words to reach more people who are suffering in their sleep, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel. It is a small gesture, but it helps the energy flow. And if you feel a deep connection to this work, you can support us directly by using the Super Thanks button or becoming a member by clicking Join. This allows us to keep the light burning. Now, look at your life. You will see why you keep repeating the same patterns, why certain emotions feel out of proportion. Someone says a small word to you, a tiny criticism, and suddenly you explode with a rage that belongs to a giant, or you shrink into a corner like a frightened mouse. The reaction is not equal to the situation. Why? Because the situation is just a trigger. The explosive material was gathered 20, 30, 40 years ago. Freedom feels so difficult even when life looks fine on the surface because you are carrying a corpse. The past is dead, but you are carrying it on your shoulders. This is not about blaming parents. Please do not fall into that trap. That is the trap of modern psychology, to find a scapegoat. Your parents were victims of their own parents. They were unconscious people raising an unconscious child. How can you blame a blind person for stepping on your foot? They were blind. They did not know what they were doing. This is not about reliving pain or rolling in the mud of yesterday. It is about understanding, and understanding is the only thing that brings release. You feel stuck in emotional reactions and life patterns you cannot fully explain. Right now, the past controls you silently. It is like a puppet master. You are the puppet. You think, I am moving my hand, but you are not. The strings are being pulled by a 5-year-old child, terrified of being abandoned. What is possible is awareness, choice, and inner freedom. I am not speaking from theory. I am not interested in theories. Theories are for the scholars, for the professors who live in their heads. I am speaking from watching human minds closely and compassionately. I have looked into thousands of eyes and seen the same frightened child hiding behind the mask of a successful doctor, a politician, a mother, a strong man. Once you see how childhood lives on inside you, you will never look at yourself the same way again. From the moment you were born, you learned how to survive in your environment. You must understand the difference between a human child and an animal. An animal is born complete. A deer is born, and within minutes it is standing, within hours it is running. It has a built-in program. But a human child is born incomplete. He is helpless. He is dependent. For years he cannot survive on his own. If the mother leaves, he dies. If the father abandons him, he starves. This dependency creates a deep, primal fear. So you learned what was allowed, what was dangerous, and most importantly, what earned love. Love for a child is not a luxury. It is nourishment. It is biology. It is life or death. If the mother smiles, the child feels, I exist, I am safe. If the mother frowns or looks away, the child feels, I am disappearing. Death is coming. Those lessons settled deep inside you long before you had words for them. You may think childhood is just a memory. You look at photo albums and say, that was me. No, in truth, it is a program still running. This is not psychology for fixing yourself. Psychology tries to patch the cracks in the wall. I am saying, see that the foundation itself is shaky. This is awareness for freeing yourself. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not a sinner. You are not broken. You adapted intelligently as a child. The problem is that adaptation was never updated. You are running a survival software from 30 years ago on a modern computer. It is crashing the system. As this unfolds, you will begin to recognize yourself with surprising clarity. You will catch yourself in the act. In this sharing, I am going to take you back not to relive the past, but to release it, to look at it without fear. We will look at how childhood conditioning forms your fears, your defenses, and your habits. How the inner child continues to react long after the danger is gone, and how awareness can dissolve these patterns without effort or struggle. Note the word without effort. If you struggle, it is again the ego. If you fight with your past, you are emphasizing the past. You are giving it energy. You simply have to switch on the light. When you switch on the light in a dark room, do you have to fight the darkness? Do you have to take a broom and sweep the darkness out? No. The moment light is there, darkness is not. Nothing here is about blame. Everything here is about seeing. Later, I will show how even success can be driven by childhood wounds. In fact, most of your so-called successful people are the most wounded. They are running the fastest because they are running away from themselves. I will reveal why trying to change behavior never works without understanding its roots. You can prune the leaves of a tree, but if the roots are poisonous, the new leaves will also be poisonous. This is slow, deep, and honest work. It is meant to be felt, not analyzed. By the end, you may realize that the child inside you does not need healing, but understanding. Now that the opening has exposed how deeply the past is still alive inside you, I want to take you to the very root of it. Because without seeing this clearly, everything else remains theory. What I am about to share explains why you feel so familiar to yourself, why certain patterns feel unchangeable, and why freedom has seemed just out of reach. This part matters because it reveals that what you call your personality was never a choice. It was a survival strategy. Here is something most people completely miss. As a child, you were not learning how to be yourself. You were learning how to survive. You were born as a pure essence, a clean slate, a mirror reflecting reality. But society, parents, teachers, priests, they cannot tolerate a pure mirror. It scares them. They want you to be like them. So, you learned when to speak and when to stay silent. You learned when to please and when to disappear. You learned when anger protected you and when it made things worse. These were not conscious decisions. You did not sit down with a notebook and plan, today I will repress my anger. No, it happened biologically. It happened viscerally. They were intelligent responses to your environment. And because they worked, they stayed. Silence became safety for many. A child learns that being quiet avoids trouble, avoids conflict, avoids punishment. If the father is angry, the child learns to become invisible. He holds his breath. He stiffens his body. He becomes like a piece of furniture. Slowly, silence hardens into a habit. Years later, the body still tightens before speaking. You are in a meeting, you have a brilliant idea, but your throat closes. Your heart races. Why? The meeting is safe. Your colleagues are not your angry father, but the body does not know time. The body is still in that living room 30 years ago, trying not to be seen. Even when there is no danger, pleasing became protection for others. Love felt conditional, so agreement felt safer than honesty. If I say yes, mommy smiles. If I say no, mommy cries or leaves. So you learn the dangerous art of being a nice person. A nice person is not a real person. A nice person is a phony person. You sacrificed your truth for their approval. Anger became defense for some because anger created distance, and distance meant survival. None of this was wrong at that time. It was intelligent. It saved you. But intelligence meant for survival is not meant to rule a whole life. A boat is necessary to cross the river. But if you carry the boat on your head after crossing the river, you are a fool. It becomes a burden. This is where the confusion begins. What helped you survive became who you think you are. The adaptation became identity. The armor became skin. You have worn the mask for so long that you have forgotten your original face. Long after the war ended, the armor stayed on. An armor that once protected now restricts movement. It limits intimacy. It blocks joy. You cannot dance in armor. You cannot hug in armor. It keeps you reactive instead of responsive. Think of a child who learned to shrink to avoid punishment. The body curls inward, the breath becomes shallow, the eyes lower. That child grows up, becomes a man of 40, but the posture remains. Look at people's bodies. Look at how they walk. Look at how they sit. They are twisted by their history. In moments that require presence, the body still remembers. The mind may say there is no danger, but the body reacts first. This is why reactions feel automatic. This is why freedom feels difficult. Once survival becomes identity, reactions replace freedom. You are no longer choosing, you are repeating. You are a biological robot, a machine. And repetition feels personal. You say, I am angry, but it is not you. It is the machine clicking into the anger program because a button was pushed. It is mechanical. This is not because something is wrong with you. It is because something old is still operating without being seen. And this brings us naturally to the next layer, because if survival strategies became personality, then it explains something very important. It explains why you react before you even have time to think. And to understand that we must look directly at how the inner child still moves faster than the adult you believe yourself to be. Now we move a little deeper. Because once it is seen that survival became personality, another mystery of your life suddenly makes sense. This next part changes how you look at your reactions forever. It explains why insight alone has not helped. You have read the books, you have understood the concepts intellectually, you know you shouldn't be jealous, you know you shouldn't be angry, yet when the moment comes, the jealousy is there, fire hot, the anger is there, burning. Why? Why do promises to yourself fail? Why do the same emotions appear again and again even when you know better? what I'm about to share is not comfortable for the ego, but it is immensely freeing for awareness. Here is something that almost everyone misunderstands. You do not react because you decide to. You react because something much older than decision is at work. The inner child reacts faster than the adult mind. The mind is slow. It needs time to process, to analyze. Survival is instant. Long before thought appears, the body remembers. Long before choice is possible, emotion has already moved. This is why reactions feel immediate, uncontrollable, and often embarrassing afterward. Emotional reflexes are learned early. A raised voice, a certain look, silence in the room, disapproval in the air. As a child, you learned what these signals meant: danger, withdrawal of love, punishment, abandonment. The nervous system adjusted to respond instantly. There was no time to think. Speed was survival. If a lion is attacking, you do not contemplate, you run. That speed is still there. Present situations awaken past danger. Someone disagrees with you, and suddenly the body tightens. Someone pulls away emotionally, and panic arises. Someone criticizes you, and anger explodes, or shame collapses you inward. The mind tells a story afterward. The mind is a very clever lawyer. It comes in after the crime and justifies it. I got angry because he was rude. No, you got angry because his tone reminded your unconscious of a threat you faced when you were 3. The reaction already happened. This is why you later say, I don't know why I reacted like that. The reason lies far behind the moment itself. Think of touching a hot stove long after it has cooled. The hand pulls back before the mind checks the temperature. The body learned once, and it does not wait for updates. Childhood conditioning works the same way. The body still reacts as if the past is happening now. The danger is gone, but the alarm is still ringing. This is not weakness, it is conditioning. And seeing this removes a great burden of self-judgment. You stop calling yourself broken or immature. You begin to see intelligence trapped in an outdated system. Awareness begins right here, not by suppressing reactions. Suppression is the worst thing you can do. If you suppress the steam, the boiler will explode, not by suppressing, but by understanding their source. To understand reactions, the source must be seen, not analyzed endlessly, not relived dramatically, but seen clearly and compassionately. When awareness touches the reaction at its root, something begins to slow down. A small space appears between stimulus and response. That space is precious. That space is freedom beginning. That space is where you exist. Otherwise, you are just a bundle of memories. And this naturally leads us to the next discovery, because reactions do not live only in thoughts and emotions. They are held deeper. They live in the muscles, the breath, the posture. The past is not just remembered, it is embodied. Now we come to a place that the mind often avoids because it cannot control it easily. Yet this is where the past hides most effectively. The past does not survive through memory alone. Memory is only the surface. The past survives through the body. And until this is seen, many people keep trying to think their way out of patterns that are not stored in thought at all. You cannot think your way out of a prison that is made of muscles and nerves. Conditioning is physical before it is psychological. The body learned fear long before the mind could explain it. Muscles tightened to protect. Breath shortened to stay alert. The nervous system learned when to freeze, when to fight, and when to disappear. These responses became habits, and habits became posture. Years later, the body still holds the same shapes even when the danger is long gone. This is why tension patterns feel so familiar. Shoulders lifted without knowing why, jaw clenched even at rest, belly tight, breath shallow. These are not accidents, they are memories without words. The body remembers what the mind has forgotten or refuses to see. The mind can lie. The mind can say, I am very confident, I am very spiritual. But look at the body, the trembling hand, the restless foot, the shallow breathing. The body never lies. And because the body lives in the present, it keeps reenacting the past as if it is happening now. Fear responses live here too. The heart races, the stomach tightens, the throat closes. These reactions are not caused by the present moment. They are echoes of earlier moments when fear was necessary. The body does not understand time the way the mind does. It only understands safety and danger. And once it has learned danger, it stays ready. Habitual postures tell the same story. Some bodies lean forward, always prepared, always rushing into the future because the present was unsafe. Some collapse inward, always retreating, trying to take up as little space as possible. Some remain rigid, armored, alert. These postures were learned when the body was small and the world felt large. They were intelligent then, they are limiting now. Think of a dog that has been beaten for years. Even when adopted into a loving home, the dog flinches at sudden movement. No one is harming it anymore, yet the body still expects pain. This is how childhood lives on in human beings. Not as drama, but as reflex. Not as memory, but as tension. Seeing this changes the approach completely. You stop demanding that the body behave rationally. You stop forcing relaxation. You stop blaming yourself for what is stored below thought. Instead, you bring awareness into the body. If you are finding value in this, if you are beginning to see your own armor, consider deepening this journey. We have prepared ebooks that go into the specific techniques of meditation that can dissolve this armor. Check the link in the description. It is not just a book, it is a map to your own body. Also, hitting the super thanks button is a beautiful way to say, I received something today. You feel without judgment, you notice without trying to fix. And in this noticing, the body slowly learns that the danger is over. Once the child is seen in the body, not just in the story, something very important happens. Compassion deepens, resistance softens, and a new clarity arises. Because now it becomes obvious where childhood conditioning reveals itself most strongly. It shows itself in love, in closeness, in relationships. This is where the next layer must be explored. Now we arrive at the place where childhood conditioning becomes impossible to hide because relationships expose what solitude can conceal. You can be a Buddha on a mountaintop. It is very easy. No one is bothering you. The birds are singing, the wind is blowing. You feel so peaceful. But come down to the marketplace, get married, have a partner, then see where your peace goes. Relationships are the mirror. You may manage yourself well alone. You may appear calm and reasonable in daily life. But the moment love enters, the past wakes up. This next part matters deeply because it explains why love so often brings fear, why closeness feels dangerous, and why many relationships feel intense but not nourishing. Here is something that changes everything once it is seen clearly. When childhood lacked safety, need was mistaken for love. The child did not learn love as freedom. The child learned love as survival. Love meant attention. Love meant approval. Love meant not being abandoned. And these associations moved quietly into adult life without ever being questioned. Clinging is born here. When love feels like oxygen, the fear of losing it becomes overwhelming. The body tightens, the mind becomes alert. You watch for signs, you adjust yourself to stay wanted. This is not love, this is fear trying to protect itself. But because it feels intense, it is easily confused with love. I cannot live without you, you say. You think this is a poetic statement of romance. It is not. It is a pathological statement of a child who cannot survive without the mother. Intensity is not depth, it is urgency. Fear of being alone grows from the same root. The child once felt helpless, without support, without warmth, without protection. That helplessness never found closure. So the adult seeks closeness not to share, but to survive emotionally. Aloneness feels like danger even when it is simply space. The relationship becomes a shelter, not a meeting. A meeting can only happen between two mature individuals. If two beggars meet, what can they share? They both are begging bowls. They both want the other to fill them. And because both are empty, there is only conflict. Emotional bargaining appears naturally in this state. I give you this, so you stay. I become this, so you do not leave. Love turns into a transaction, subtle and unspoken. The body stays tense because it knows the arrangement is fragile. This is why such relationships exhaust both people. They are built on fear, not freedom. Think of a hungry child grabbing food. The grabbing is not greed, it is fear of starvation. In the same way, need in relationships is not selfishness, it is unresolved hunger. But hunger cannot recognize nourishment, it only knows urgency, and urgency destroys intimacy. When you see this without judgment, something softens. You stop condemning yourself for needing, you stop blaming others for not filling that need. Awareness begins to separate love from survival, and in that separation, fear slowly loosens its grip. Where there is need, fear hides. And where fear hides, love cannot breathe fully. Seeing this is not the end of relationships. It is the beginning of a new quality of relating. A relating based on sharing your overflow, not filling your hole. But before that can flower, another childhood pattern must be exposed, because love was not only shaped by need, it was also shaped by authority, obedience, and rebellion. Now we move into a pattern that many people live out without ever recognizing it, because it feels so personal and justified. This pattern sits quietly underneath many relationships, careers, and inner conflicts. It was formed early when love and authority were mixed together, and it continues to operate long after the original figures are gone. Seeing this clearly brings great relief because it explains struggles that otherwise feel mysterious and exhausting. Parents do not disappear when childhood ends. They move inside. Their voices, their expectations, their judgments become internal. The child learned who had power, who decided, who approved, and who punished. These dynamics were absorbed long before the child could understand them. As an adult, you may no longer live with your parents, yet you are still responding to them inwardly. Submission patterns grow from this soil. Some children learn that obedience brought safety. Saying yes avoided conflict. Agreeing kept love intact. As adults, these individuals often struggle to assert themselves. They attract controlling partners. Why? Because the controlling partner feels familiar. It feels like home, a miserable home, but still home. They lose themselves in relationships. They confuse compliance with kindness. The old rule is still running. Stay agreeable to stay safe. Rebellion grows from the same place. Other children learned that authority felt suffocating, control felt threatening, love felt conditional. As adults, these individuals resist closeness the moment it feels structured. They push away what begins to matter. They equate intimacy with loss of freedom. Their rebellion is not freedom, it is fear wearing armor. A rebel is just as enslaved as the obedient one. The obedient one says yes compulsively. The rebel says no compulsively. Neither is free to choose according to the situation. Both are reacting to the invisible parent. Attraction to control figures is another expression of this conditioning. Authority feels familiar. It feels known even when it hurts. It feels predictable. So the mind is drawn toward the same dynamic again and again, hoping unconsciously that this time it will end differently. But repetition without awareness never heals. It only repeats. Think of an adult still arguing with an absent parent. The parent is not there yet. The argument continues inside. Every boss becomes the father. Every partner becomes the mother. Every rule triggers rebellion or submission. The present moment is hijacked by the past. Love becomes confused when the past is unexamined. You are not meeting the person in front of you. You are meeting an old memory wearing a new face. This is why relationships feel intense but unclear. Why fights feel larger than the situation. Why intimacy brings fear instead of ease. Seeing this does not require blame. Parents acted from their own conditioning. They did what they knew. Understanding this does not excuse harm, but it dissolves hatred. And without hatred, awareness can work. When this pattern is seen, relationships begin to breathe again. But one final childhood tendency remains, and it is one of the strongest. Even when love hurts, the mind returns to what feels familiar. This is why the same kind of relationship appears again and again, even when it causes pain. Now we come to one of the most revealing moments of the unconscious mind, because once this is seen, many years of confusion suddenly make sense. People often say they want change, peace, and healthy love, yet they keep walking into the same kind of pain again and again. This is not because they enjoy suffering. Please understand this. No one enjoys suffering. It is because the mind chooses what feels known, not what feels healthy. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar peace. The mind is conservative. It prefers what it already understands, even if it hurts. It says, I know this misery. I have decorated this prison. I know where the walls are. As a child, you learned a certain emotional climate. Maybe it was tension, maybe it was distance, maybe it was unpredictability. That climate became normal, it became home. Later, when life offers something calm, stable, and kind, the nervous system feels uneasy. Peace feels strange, silence feels suspicious, chaos feels familiar. This is why repetition happens. You find yourself attracted to the same emotional patterns, the same types of people, the same conflicts, dressed in different clothes. The faces change, the story changes, but the feeling underneath is the same. The mind says, I know this terrain, I know how to survive here. And survival still feels more important than joy. Repetition compulsion is not stupidity, it is loyalty to the past. The child hopes that this time the story will end differently. This time I will be chosen. This time I will be safe. This time I will be loved. But repeating the same pattern with new people does not heal the old wound. It only keeps it active. Attraction to emotional chaos grows from this. Calm feels empty to a chaotic mind. Drama feels alive. Intensity feels like connection. But intensity is not intimacy. It is agitation. It keeps the nervous system alert, the heart guarded, and awareness distracted. Peace feels boring only because the body has been trained in tension. Familiar pain is chosen over unknown peace because peace requires letting go of identity. The identity built around struggle, endurance, and survival does not know who it is without conflict. If you drop the sword, who are you? You are just a naked being, and that nakedness is terrifying to the ego. So the mind returns to the locked door again and again, hoping it will open this time, even though it never has. Imagine returning to the same locked door every day, pushing harder, blaming yourself, blaming the door, blaming fate. You cry, you scream, you pray. But the door is not locked by chance. It was never meant to open that way. A different door exists, but it requires turning around. Awareness is that turning. When this pattern is seen without self-hatred, a new intelligence appears. You begin to pause before repeating. You begin to sense when familiarity is guiding you instead of truth. This pause is the first taste of freedom. And with this freedom, another layer comes into focus because repetition is not limited to love alone. It also shapes ambition, fear, and the way you chase success. Now we turn toward a place where childhood conditioning hides very cleverly because on the surface it looks positive, admirable, even successful. This next part reveals why so many people achieve much and still feel empty, why rest feels difficult even after accomplishment, and why ambition often carries tension instead of joy. What I am about to share removes confusion around success and replaces it with deep understanding. Here is something rarely seen clearly. Much of what is called ambition is not born from joy or creativity. It is born from fear. It is born from a wound that learned early on that love must be earned. The child discovered that approval came through performance, achievement, or obedience. That lesson stayed. The adult keeps working not to express life, but to compensate for something that once felt missing. Overwork grows from this soil. Doing more feels safer than stopping. Rest feels dangerous because it brings you closer to feelings that were never allowed space. If you stop, you have to feel. If you stop, the noise of the world dies down and the cry of the inner child becomes audible. So you keep running. Productivity becomes protection. Stillness feels like exposure. So the body keeps moving, achieving, producing, hoping that one more success will finally bring relief. But relief never comes because the work was never about the work. Perfectionism appears here as well. Mistakes once carried consequences. Criticism once hurt deeply. So the adult tries to become flawless, not to enjoy excellence, but to avoid pain. This creates constant pressure. Nothing is ever enough. Even success feels fragile because it must be maintained. You are on a treadmill that never stops. Joy is postponed again and again. I will be happy when I get the promotion. I will be happy when I buy the house. But when you get the house, the emptiness moves in with you. Fear of being ordinary hides underneath much ambition. Ordinary once meant invisible. Invisible once meant unsafe. So the adult strives to stand out, to be special, to be irreplaceable, not out of celebration, but out of fear of disappearing. Success becomes a shield against an old terror of not mattering. Think of a child collecting trophies for love. Each trophy brings a moment of warmth, a moment of pride, a moment of attention, but the hunger returns. The child grows up, but the collecting continues. Titles, money, praise replace trophies. The hunger remains because it was never about success. It was about being seen. What is not healed seeks validation. This is not a moral judgment. It is a simple psychological fact. Validation feels like love when love was uncertain. But validation can never replace inner safety. It can only distract for a moment. It is like drinking salt water when you are thirsty. It looks like water, but it only makes you thirstier. Seeing this brings compassion instead of condemnation. You stop shaming yourself for ambition. You stop glorifying it as well. You begin to see it clearly, and in this clarity, pressure begins to drop. You work differently, you rest differently, you succeed without being owned by success. If you're feeling the weight of this success trap lifting as you listen, if you are realizing that you have been running a race you never signed up for, consider supporting this channel. Click the join button or send a super thanks. It allows us to keep bringing these truths to light, to help you step off the treadmill. And do not forget to like and subscribe. It costs nothing but means everything for the community we are building here. And now we come to the other side of this same wound, because not everyone runs toward visibility. Some learned that being seen was dangerous, and that fear shapes life just as powerfully as ambition does. Now we move to the hidden twin of ambition, because both grow from the same childhood soil. Where one child learned to survive by being exceptional, another learned to survive by disappearing. Both are strategies, both are intelligent, and both quietly limit life long after the original danger has passed. This part is essential because many people believe they lack confidence or courage, when in truth they are carrying an old memory of fear. For some children, visibility was dangerous. Attention brought criticism. Being noticed invited ridicule, punishment, or rejection. So the body learned to shrink, to stay quiet, to stay in the background. Not because the child lacked strength, but because invisibility felt safe. That learning settled deep into the nervous system and followed the child into adulthood. Fear of judgment grows from this place. Even mild attention can trigger anxiety. Speaking up feels risky. Expressing yourself feels exposed. The mind finds many reasons to stay hidden. I am shy, it says. I am an introvert. And these reasons sound logical, but underneath them is a simple memory. When I was seen, I was hurt. The body does not forget this lesson easily. Self-sabotage often appears here. Just when things begin to go well, energy drops, opportunities are missed, words fail to come. It looks like laziness or lack of discipline on the surface. In truth, it is protection. The body is preventing exposure. It believes it is keeping you safe. Even when safety is no longer the issue, hiding behind roles becomes a clever solution. You become the helper, the listener, the worker, the observer. Roles allow participation without vulnerability. They offer belonging without exposure. But roles also limit intimacy. They keep you slightly removed from life, watching rather than fully living. Think of a child avoiding attention in a classroom. The child lowers the head, avoids the teacher's eyes, stays perfectly still. The lesson is learned. Do not be seen. Do not stand out. Years later, the adult still carries the same posture inside, even when no one is threatening. Seeing this pattern brings immense relief. You stop forcing confidence. You stop judging fear. You begin to understand that fear of being seen is not weakness. It is memory. And memory dissolves through awareness, not through pressure. Seeing the pattern is the beginning of freedom. not changing it, not fixing it, seeing it. Because the moment awareness replaces unconscious reaction, choice begins to appear. And with choice, life slowly moves out of the shadow of the past. This brings us naturally to the turning point of the whole journey, because once patterns are seen clearly, a question silently dissolves. How does healing actually happen? Not through effort, not through blame, but through something far simpler and far more powerful. Now we arrive at the most delicate and decisive shift in this whole journey, because everything you have seen so far can either turn into healing or turn into another burden depending on how it is held. Many people begin to see their conditioning clearly, and immediately something hardens inside. Blame appears, anger appears, regret appears, and with blame the past tightens its grip again. What I'm about to share releases that grip. Blame strengthens the wound. This must be understood deeply. When you blame your parents, you remain connected to them through pain. You are tied to them with an invisible chain of resentment. When you blame yourself, you repeat the same violence that once came from outside. Blame keeps the story alive. Awareness dissolves the story. This is why seeing must be without judgment. Otherwise, understanding becomes another form of suffering. Parents were unconscious beings. This is not an excuse. It is a fact. They acted from their own fears, their own wounds, their own conditioning. They gave what they had. What they lacked, they could not give. You cannot squeeze juice from a stone. Seeing this does not deny pain. It places pain in context, and context brings relief. Compassion replaces judgment when you see clearly. Compassion does not mean agreement. It means understanding the mechanics of suffering. A blind guide can only lead blindly. Getting angry at blindness changes nothing. Understanding blindness ends the expectation. And when expectation drops, resentment fades. Understanding replaces resentment naturally. You stop asking why this happened to me and start seeing how it happened. The question disappears. Only clarity remains. And clarity is light. It does not burn. It warms. It allows the nervous system to relax for the first time, because it no longer feels trapped in a moral argument with the past. Think of forgiving a blind guide. Forgiveness here is not a decision. It is a consequence of seeing. When you see that no one knew what they were doing, hatred becomes unnecessary. Carrying it feels pointless. Energy returns to the present. When blame drops, clarity appears. And in that clarity, something very important becomes possible for the first time. You can look at the inner child without trying to fix it, correct it, or heal it. You can simply watch, and watching is far more powerful than doing. This is where the real transformation begins, because the child does not need another authority. It needs awareness, and awareness is what we now turn toward. Now something very quiet and very powerful begins, and it does not look dramatic from the outside. This is the moment where effort truly ends and understanding becomes lived reality. Up to now you have been seeing patterns, reactions, memories, and behaviors. Now the way of seeing itself changes. This next part changed everything for me, because it showed that nothing inside you needs to be pushed, corrected, or repaired. It only needs to be seen clearly and kindly. Observation breaks identification. This is the key. The inner child suffers because it is believed to be you. The moment you watch it, a small distance appears. Not distance as rejection, but distance as space. In that space, the child is no longer running the whole system. Awareness is present, and awareness is naturally parental. It is stable, it does not panic, it does not judge. Witnessing reactions is where this begins. When fear arises, you notice it. When anger moves, you notice it. When the urge to please appears, you notice it. You do not try to stop these movements. You do not follow them either. You simply watch. This watching is not cold. It is warm, alert, and intimate, like a loving adult observing a frightened child without shouting or correcting. Naming patterns gently helps awareness stay present, not labeling as good or bad, but simply recognizing this is fear, this is withdrawal, this is the need for approval. Naming brings clarity. Clarity weakens the unconscious grip. The pattern no longer hides in darkness. It is seen in light. Staying present is essential here. The mind will try to explain, analyze, and fix. Let it pass. Presence is enough. When the child feels seen, it begins to relax. Not immediately, not magically, but gradually. Safety is restored not through words, but through steady awareness. Think of watching clouds pass across the sky. The sky does not chase the clouds. It does not try to shape them. It allows them. And in that allowance, clouds come and go on their own. The sky remains untouched. Awareness is the sky. The inner child is the passing weather. This is how healing happens naturally, not by effort, not by will, not by reliving the past. Healing happens because identification drops. The child no longer needs to scream for attention. It is already seen. It is already held. From this watching, something new begins to grow. A sense of inner safety that does not depend on anyone else. A quiet strength that was missing before. And from that safety, life begins to move in a new way. You stop reacting from the past and start responding from the present. From awareness, a new way of living emerges. And this is where the journey opens into freedom, because once the child is no longer driving unconsciously, the adult inside finally takes its place. Now something very practical and very real begins to change in your daily life, not as an idea, but as a lived experience. Up to this point, awareness has been doing its quiet work inside. It has been watching, softening, creating space. Now that space starts to show its power, because this is where freedom first becomes visible in action. This next part is where many people suddenly realize that something fundamental has shifted. Awareness creates space before action. That space may feel small at first, almost invisible, but it is revolutionary. Before, life happened too fast. A word was spoken, a look was given, and a reaction exploded immediately. Now there is a pause, a breath, a moment where you are present before the old pattern takes over. That pause is not hesitation, it is clarity. Slowing down happens naturally here, not because you force yourself to be calm, but because the nervous system no longer feels under attack. The body senses safety, and when the body feels safe, urgency drops. You begin to notice the impulse to react without obeying it. The impulse arises and awareness stays. Conscious response replaces emotional reflex. This does not mean you become passive or silent. It means your actions come from choice rather than compulsion. You can still say no. You can still express anger. You can still protect boundaries. But now these actions come from clarity, not from old fear. They are clean. They do not leave residue. Emotional clarity deepens in this space. You begin to feel what you are feeling without becoming it. Sadness is felt fully, but it does not drown you. Anger is noticed, but it does not possess you. Joy appears without fear of loss. This clarity brings dignity to emotion. Emotion becomes information, not identity. Think of pausing before speaking. In that pause, you sense the difference between truth and reaction. You feel whether words are coming from an old wound or from present understanding. This single pause can change relationships, careers, and inner peace. It is simple, it is profound, and it grows naturally with awareness. Responding instead of reacting is not control, it is freedom. Control still belongs to fear. Response belongs to presence. The more presence deepens, the more natural response becomes. Life stops feeling like a battlefield and starts feeling like a conversation. With space comes freedom. And with freedom, something even deeper begins to settle. The inner child no longer has to manage life alone. A new center of authority appears inside. This is not dominance, it is maturity. And maturity brings safety in a way the past never could. Now we arrive at the quiet completion of this inner journey, the place where everything you have seen begins to settle into a new center. This is not dramatic, it does not announce itself. Yet it changes everything. Becoming an adult inside does not mean becoming serious, controlled, or armored. It means becoming present enough that the inner child no longer has to protect, manage, or survive on its own. The inner child relaxes when awareness is present. This is one of the most beautiful truths to understand. The child has been working too hard for too long. It has been deciding, defending, pleasing, hiding, reacting, not because it wanted power, but because no one else seemed available inside. The moment awareness becomes steady, the child feels it. Something wiser is here now, something grounded, something calm. Self-responsibility naturally appears at this stage, not as a burden, but as relief. You stop expecting others to fix what belongs to your inner life. You stop demanding that relationships heal old wounds. You stop looking outward for safety that can only be found inwardly. This does not make you distant, it makes you whole. You can now meet others without need, without fear, without bargaining. Inner safety grows quietly. It does not come from control or certainty. It comes from knowing that whatever arises inside you can be met. If you're realizing that you have been looking for this safety in all the wrong places, pause for a moment. If this message is hitting home, show your support. Press the Super Thanks button, buy one of our ebooks to guide your daily practice, or simply subscribe. When you invest in your own growth, the universe invests in you. Fear may come, but it will be seen. Sadness may come, but it will be held. Anger may come, but it will not be acted out unconsciously. This knowing settles the nervous system at a deep level. For the first time, there is trust inside. Emotional sovereignty replaces emotional dependence. You feel fully, but you are not ruled by feeling. You care deeply, but you are not owned by care. You love, but you do not cling. This sovereignty is not cold, it is warm and stable. It allows intimacy without fear and closeness without collapse. Think of a child resting when the parent arrives. The vigilance drops, the shoulders soften, the breath deepens, play returns naturally because safety is no longer in question. This is exactly what happens inside when awareness becomes the adult presence. The child does not disappear. It becomes lighter, freer, more joyful. This is what it means to live free of the past. Not that the past is erased, but that it no longer rules. The memories remain, but they do not command. The patterns may appear, but they do not dominate. You are here now, and from here life can finally be lived rather than defended. What remains now is not another section to understand, but a closing to feel. Everything essential has been seen. The past has been understood. Awareness has been revealed as liberation. And from this understanding, a simple truth can be spoken clearly and gently. Now, there is nothing more to explain, because explanation would only take you back into the mind, and everything that needed to be seen has already been revealed. What has unfolded here was not meant to give you another identity or another story. It was meant to take weight off your chest. It was meant to return authority to the present moment where life actually happens. Your past was revealed as conditioning, not destiny. The child inside you was seen as intelligent adaptation, not weakness. Awareness was seen as liberation, not effort. The moment this is understood, something relaxes deeply. You stop fighting your history. You stop trying to erase it. You stop letting it decide for you. Seeing dissolves control. Presence replaces repetition. Freedom becomes possible now, not someday, not after more work, not after more healing. Right now, in this moment, you are no longer compelled to live from old fear. You are no longer forced to repeat old patterns. You have space, and in that space, choice appears naturally. Remember this clearly. Your past shaped you, but it does not have to rule you. What shaped you can be understood. What is understood loses its power, and what loses its power no longer owns you. Let this not become another idea to remember. Let it become a way of seeing. Observe one emotional reaction today without acting on it. Just watch. Just stay present. In that small moment, freedom is already alive, and keep this in your awareness. Because childhood conditioning is not the deepest layer of identity. There is something even more subtle hiding underneath, something that survives even after the past loses its grip. Seeing it changes everything. There is something very important that must be understood if you want to be free from your past. Childhood does not control you through memory. It controls you through reflex. You may not remember what happened, but your body remembers how it learned to respond. Your muscles remember when to tighten. Your breath remembers when to stop. Your emotions remember when to hide. This is why the past feels alive even when it is forgotten. A child does not reason. A child adapts, and adaptation is intelligent. If love was conditional, you learned to perform. If anger was dangerous, you learned to suppress. If attention came through achievement, you learned to strive. None of this was wrong. It was survival. But survival strategies become prisons when they are carried into adulthood unchanged. The tragedy is not that the child learned these patterns. The tragedy is that the adult never questioned them. Personality formed around protection, not truth. What you call "this is how I am" is often just "this is how I learned to stay safe." You may believe you are making choices, but often choices are already decided by old fear. You choose partners that feel familiar, not nourishing. You choose work that confirms your worth, not your joy. You choose reactions before awareness has time to enter. This is the past acting now. Another hidden way childhood controls you is through emotional scale. Small events trigger big reactions. A look feels like rejection. Silence feels like abandonment. Criticism feels like danger. The present moment is innocent. The bird singing outside has no agenda against you. The wind blowing through the trees is not criticizing you, but the nervous system is not responding to the present, it is responding to history. This is why telling yourself to calm down never works. Have you noticed? You are anxious, your heart is pounding, and you say to yourself, "Be logical, there is no problem." Does the anxiety stop? No. It often gets worse because now you are anxious and you are fighting the anxiety. The child inside does not understand logic. Logic is a very recent development in the human brain. The child understands safety, and to the child, the current situation smells like the old danger. Until the inner child feels seen, reactions will continue to arise automatically. You must also see how childhood creates inner authority figures. This is a very subtle mechanism that imprisons you long after you have left your parents' house. The parent does not disappear when you grow up. They move inside, their voice becomes your inner critic, their approval becomes your inner demand. Even rebellion is still a relationship. Whether you obey or resist, you are still reacting to them. If your father was controlling and you became a rebel, you think you are free. You are not free. You are just doing the opposite of what he wanted. Your compass is still set by him. Freedom means you can do what he wanted, or you can do the opposite depending on what the situation requires. You are not compelled. Freedom begins when you see that the past no longer has authority. But this seeing must be gentle. Violence against the past only strengthens it. If you try to kill the father inside, you become violent. And who taught you violence? The father, so the father wins again. Blame keeps the wound alive. Understanding dissolves it. Another deep point must be seen. Many adults believe they are emotionally mature because they function well. They have jobs, they pay taxes, they drive cars. Functioning is not maturity. You can be a president of a country and be emotionally 6 years old. We see this all the time. Maturity is the ability to stay present when emotions arise. Many highly successful people are still emotionally 5 years old inside. Power does not equal freedom. The child also controls ambition. Many goals are not chosen from joy, but from compensation. You want to be important because you once felt invisible. You want control because you once felt helpless. You want recognition because love was scarce. Achievement becomes a substitute for healing. This is why success often does not satisfy. You reach the top of the mountain and you are still you. The view has changed, but the viewer has not. The wound does not heal through external proof. No amount of applause can reach a child who was never truly met. The applause stays on the outside. The emptiness stays on the inside. Another layer of conditioning appears in how you treat yourself. This is where the tragedy becomes internal. You push yourself the way you were pushed. You neglect yourself the way you were neglected. You demand perfection the way it was demanded of you. You continue the pattern internally long after the environment has changed. You have become your own tormentor. You carry a whip in your own hand. This is why rest feels uncomfortable. Stillness feels unsafe. Ease feels undeserved. The body learned that tension meant survival. Relaxation feels like danger because it was once associated with loss of attention or control. If you were only loved when you were good or productive, then sitting on the sofa doing nothing feels like a crime. You feel guilty. That guilt is not yours. It is an implanted program. If you are tired of this guilt, if you want to learn how to put down the whip and treat yourself with the dignity of a Buddha, I invite you to support this channel. Click the join button or send a super thanks. Your contribution helps us spread this message of compassion. And if you have not already, like and subscribe. Let us create a community where rest is not a sin, but a sacrament. You may also notice that your inner child appears most strongly in close relationships. Love removes defenses. When you are with a stranger, you are armored, you are polite, you are wearing your social mask. But with a lover, the mask slips. When defenses drop, old wounds surface. This is why intimacy feels both desired and frightening. You want closeness, but closeness awakens unfinished business. Many people mistake this for incompatibility. They say, we fight too much, we are not compatible. In truth, it is exposure. Relationships reveal what childhood hid. This is not a problem. It is an opportunity for awareness. If you run away from this relationship, you will take your wounds to the next one. And the same play will start with different actors. Another important understanding is this: healing does not mean reliving the past emotionally. Many therapies make this mistake. They tell you to scream, to cry, to beat pillows for years. Reliving often strengthens identification. You become addicted to your story. You become a victim. Healing means seeing clearly in the present how the past is operating now. Awareness dissolves identification. When you watch a reaction without becoming it, something extraordinary happens. The energy that was trapped in repetition is released. Choice becomes possible. Space appears between stimulus and response. In that space, adulthood is born. Becoming an adult inside does not mean killing the child. It means becoming the presence that the child never had. When awareness is present, the child relaxes. No effort is required. The child stops screaming because it is finally heard. You may notice moments where old patterns arise and dissolve more quickly. This is progress, but not the kind that feeds the ego. It is quiet, subtle, almost invisible. But life begins to feel less reactive, less heavy, less dramatic. You stop making mountains out of molehills. Another layer must be understood. Childhood also shaped your beliefs about life itself. Whether life is safe or hostile, whether love lasts or leaves, whether joy must be earned or is natural. These beliefs are rarely questioned. They are the water you swim in. You do not see the water because you have never been out of it, yet they shape everything. Seeing these beliefs is liberation. Once seen, they lose their grip. Beliefs survive only in unconsciousness. The most practical wisdom here is simple. When a strong reaction arises, pause. Do not fix it. Do not justify it. Do not act it out. Simply notice it. Notice the body. Notice the breath. Notice the urge. This noticing is not passive. It is powerful. It is the fire of alchemy. Over time, reactions lose their authority. They may still arise, but they no longer decide. The adult presence grows stronger, not through force, but through consistency. You also learn compassion for yourself, not sentimental compassion, but understanding compassion. You see how intelligently you adapted. Shame dissolves. Self-hatred loses its foundation. Without self-hatred, change becomes natural. You cannot hate yourself into a better version of yourself. You can only love yourself into evolution. Another quiet transformation happens. You stop demanding that others heal your childhood wounds. You stop asking partners, friends, or success to give you what the past did not. This releases enormous pressure from relationships. Love becomes lighter. You are no longer clutching the other person's throat, begging them to make you feel safe. You are safe. And because you are safe, you can share. Freedom from childhood does not mean forgetting. It means no longer being run by it. Memory may remain. Conditioning may echo. But awareness is now in charge. This is real freedom, not perfection, not healing fantasies. Freedom from unconscious repetition. Your past shaped you, but it does not have to own you. Ownership ends the moment awareness takes responsibility, and that moment can only happen now. Another subtle way childhood controls you is through the way you experience time. The inner child lives either in the past or in the future. It remembers pain and anticipates danger. This is why many adults find it difficult to stay present even when nothing is wrong. Presence feels unfamiliar. Familiarity belongs to tension, anticipation, and vigilance. Relaxing into now feels unsafe because the child learned that danger came unexpectedly. If I relax, something bad will happen. This creates a constant background anxiety. Even joy is watched closely, even happiness is temporary. You enjoy, but you wait for it to disappear. This is too good to be true, you say. This waiting is the past preparing for repetition. Until this is seen, peace never feels stable. The child also learned how to read the room, how to sense moods, how to predict reactions. This sensitivity once protected you, now it often exhausts you. You feel responsible for others' emotions. You enter a room and you immediately scan. Is he angry? Is she sad? Is it safe? You adjust yourself to maintain harmony. You disappear slightly so that conflict does not arise. This is not kindness, it is survival. As an adult, this pattern becomes self-erasure. You are present but not fully. You listen but you do not reveal. You give, but you do not receive. Over time, this creates resentment and emptiness. The child learned to keep the peace. The adult longs to be authentic. Another hidden effect of childhood conditioning is how it shapes your relationship to truth. As a child, truth was often dangerous. Saying what you felt could bring punishment, withdrawal, or ridicule. So you learned to lie, not maliciously, but strategically. You learned to say what was safe. I am fine, you said, when you were broken. I agree, you said, when you disagreed. Over time, this becomes automatic even with yourself. You lie to the mirror. You may not know what you truly want because you stopped asking long ago. Desire was inconvenient. Needs were too much. So you became easy, flexible, adaptable. This adaptability once kept you loved, now it keeps you lost. Freedom begins when you dare to feel what you feel without editing it. This is frightening at first because suppressed truth has energy. It has been waiting like magma under the crust. When it rises, it may feel overwhelming. This is why awareness is essential. Awareness allows truth to move without turning into chaos. Another thing must be understood deeply. Many people believe healing means becoming emotionally stable, calm, and controlled. This is a misunderstanding. Healing means becoming emotionally honest. Stability follows honesty, not the other way around. If you try to be stable without being honest, you are just repressed. The child inside you did not need correction. The child needed presence. When presence arrives now, even late, it works. Time does not matter to awareness. Awareness is timeless. You can heal a wound from 50 years ago in 5 minutes of pure presence. You may notice grief surfacing as awareness deepens. Grief for the childhood you did not have. Grief for the protection you lacked. Grief for the tenderness that was missing. Let this grief come. Do not be afraid of tears. Tears are the melting of the ice. Grief is not weakness. Grief is integration. It allows the past to complete itself. Many people avoid this grief by staying busy, productive, distracted. Productivity can be a defense. Achievement can be anesthesia. Awareness removes anesthesia. Sensation returns. Feeling returns. This is not regression. This is healing. If you are ready to remove the anesthesia and feel life again, we have created resources to help you navigate this sensitivity. Check the description for our guided meditations and ebooks. They are tools for the brave. And remember, your support through Super Thanks or the Join button allows us to keep this sanctuary open for everyone. Another layer of conditioning appears in how you relate to authority. You either submit easily or resist reflexively. Both come from the same root. The child learned that power was external. The father had the power. The teacher had the power. The God in the sky had the power. The adult continues to locate power outside. You look for a guru, a leader, a savior. Freedom is reclaiming inner authority. Inner authority does not dominate. It does not rebel. It stands quietly. It listens inwardly before acting. It trusts its own perception. This trust is not arrogance. It is maturity. As inner authority grows, you stop asking for permission to exist. You stop waiting for validation. You stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. This is not isolation, it is grounding. You stand on your own 2 feet. You may also see how childhood shaped your spirituality. Even seeking can be conditioned. You may seek approval from teachers the way you sought approval from parents. You want the master to smile at you, to pat your head. You may seek awakening as proof of worth. If I become enlightened, then I am special. Even enlightenment can become compensation. This is why awareness must include spirituality itself. Otherwise, the child simply finds a new playground. The toys change. Instead of cars and dolls, you have mantras and crystals, but the game is the same. Look at me, mommy. I am meditating. When awareness includes everything, including the seeker, something profound happens. Seeking relaxes. Wanting to be different softens. Being here becomes enough. You are not going anywhere. You are arriving. Another very practical understanding is learning to recognize when the child is active. The signs are clear: urgency, defensiveness, justification, emotional flooding. The moment you notice these signs, do not shame yourself. Simply slow down. Slowing down brings the adult presence online. Breathing deeper helps, not as a technique but as permission. Slowing speech helps. Pausing helps. These small shifts signal safety to the nervous system. Safety is the language the child understands. Over time, reactions lose intensity not because they are suppressed, but because they are understood. Understanding is dissolving. You may also notice that creativity returns, playfulness returns, laughter becomes easier. These are not childish traits. They are signs of integration. The child is no longer running the system, but it is welcomed into it. The child brings the joy, the adult brings the safety. It is a beautiful partnership. Another deep shift happens in how you experience responsibility. Responsibility no longer feels like a burden. It feels like choice. You respond because you choose to, not because you must. This changes the entire flavor of life. The past also shaped how you deal with mistakes. Mistakes once had consequences. Now you may fear them excessively or avoid risk entirely. Awareness restores perspective. Mistakes become information, not threats. As this matures, you stop identifying with the story of who you were. You see the story clearly, compassionately, without attachment. The story loses power, presence gains it. Freedom from childhood is not an achievement. It is an ongoing relationship with awareness. Awareness grows stronger the more consistently it is present. You will still have reactions. You will still have moments of old patterns. This is not failure. This is life unwinding conditioning gradually. Patience is part of intelligence. The most important thing is this: do not turn this understanding into self-improvement. Self-improvement keeps the child in charge. It says, I am not good enough. I must improve. This is the voice of the parent again. This is not about fixing. It is about seeing. Seeing brings kindness. Kindness brings safety. Safety brings freedom. Your past does not disappear, but it no longer decides, and that is the greatest liberation possible for a human being. The moment you realize this, something inside you stands up for the first time, not against life, but within it. Another dimension of childhood conditioning that is rarely seen is how it shapes your relationship with pleasure itself. Many children learned very early that pleasure was unsafe, temporary, or followed by punishment. Joy attracted attention. Relaxation attracted criticism. Playfulness was interrupted abruptly. The body learned to stay guarded even in good moments. As an adult, you may notice that you sabotage pleasure without knowing why. You cannot fully receive it. You stay half alert, half braced even when things are going well. You are at a beautiful dinner, but your mind is worrying about tomorrow. You are making love, but your body is tense. This is the past protecting itself against loss that has not yet happened. This guarding drains joy of its nourishment. Pleasure becomes thin, short-lived, followed by guilt or anxiety. You may move quickly from enjoyment to productivity, from rest to responsibility, because the nervous system never learned how to stay open without danger. Freedom from the past includes learning how to receive pleasure without fear. This is not indulgence. This is re-education of the nervous system. It is teaching your cells that paradise is not a trap. Another subtle inheritance from childhood is how you experience needs. As a child, your needs may have been too much, ignored, or inconsistently met. You learn to minimize them, disguise them, or deny them entirely. As an adult, you may feel shame for needing rest, support, reassurance, or closeness. You call yourself weak for needing what every human needs. This internalized shame is one of the strongest chains of the past. When needs are denied, they do not disappear. They go underground. They emerge as resentment, exhaustion, passive aggression, or emotional withdrawal. You say, I don't need anything, but your eyes are begging. Awareness brings needs back into the light, not to demand they be fulfilled by others, but to acknowledge them honestly within yourself. Acknowledgement is the beginning of maturity. I am tired. I am lonely. I need a hug. Simple truths, spoken without shame. Another layer of conditioning reveals itself in how you handle conflict. Many children learned that conflict meant danger. Voices raised meant love withdrawn. Tension meant instability. As an adult, you may avoid conflict at all costs or explode unexpectedly after long suppression. Neither is freedom. Both are reactions shaped by the past. Freedom appears when you can stay present in disagreement without collapsing or attacking. This presence is not learned through technique. It emerges when the inner child feels protected by awareness. When you are inwardly grounded, conflict loses its threat. It becomes communication instead of survival. You may also notice how childhood shaped your relationship to rest. Rest may feel unproductive, undeserved, or even threatening. The body may struggle to relax without stimulation. Stillness may create discomfort instead of peace. This does not mean something is wrong. It means rest was never safe before. Awareness allows rest to be reintroduced gradually, gently, without force. You learn to sit without justification, to lie down without guilt, to stop without explanation. Each moment of allowed rest teaches the nervous system that nothing bad happens when effort stops. This learning is revolutionary. Another deep inheritance from childhood is how you experience self-worth. Worth may have been conditional. You were valued when you performed, behaved, succeeded, or pleased. As an adult, this creates an inner economy. You feel worthy when you are useful. You feel empty when you are not. This is exhausting. You are running a business, not a life. Awareness dissolves conditional worth by revealing its origin. You see clearly that worth was never intrinsic in that environment, but intrinsic worth exists in reality. You do not need to earn existence. You already exist. Trees do not earn their existence. Stars do not earn their existence. Why do you think you have to pay rent for being alive? This seeing does not inflate the ego, it relaxes it. When self-worth is no longer conditional, you stop chasing affirmation compulsively. Praise becomes pleasant but unnecessary. Criticism becomes informative rather than devastating. You remain centered regardless of feedback. This is emotional adulthood. Another area deeply influenced by childhood is how you relate to uncertainty. As a child, uncertainty may have meant chaos, unpredictability, or threat. If the parents were fighting, if there was no money, if there was alcohol, uncertainty was terror. As an adult, uncertainty feels intolerable. You rush to control outcomes. You plan excessively. You worry constantly. You seek guarantees where none exist. Freedom does not remove uncertainty. It changes your relationship with it. Uncertainty becomes openness rather than danger. Awareness teaches you that you can meet what arises. This trust grows through experience, not belief. You may notice that you begin to let life surprise you. You stop scripting every interaction mentally. You stop rehearsing conversations. You stop pre-living future failures. This releases enormous mental energy. Presence replaces anticipation. You are no longer a chess player trying to predict the next 10 moves of an opponent. Life is not an opponent. Life is a dance partner. And in a dance, if you are calculating your steps, you are not dancing, you are marching. When you stop calculating, you start flowing. Another powerful inheritance from childhood is how you experience authority within yourself. You may notice a constant inner command: should, must, have to. This voice is rarely questioned. It drives behavior long after external authority is gone. It tells you, you must work harder, you must be nicer, you should not feel this. Seeing this inner authority clearly weakens it. You recognize it as learned, not absolute. Choice reappears. You may still do the same things, but now from willingness rather than compulsion. This changes everything. Washing the dishes because you have to is slavery. Washing the dishes because you choose to is meditation. The action is the same. The quality of consciousness is different. You may also discover that childhood shaped your sense of identity more than you realized. You may still be living as the responsible one, the invisible one, the strong one, the caretaker, the achiever. These roles once kept you safe. Now they limit your range. Awareness allows roles to soften. You are no longer trapped in one version of yourself. Flexibility returns. You respond to life rather than replaying yourself. You can be strong when strength is needed, and you can be weak when weakness is needed. You can be wise, and you can be a fool. You are fluid. You are like water, taking the shape of the vessel. Another quiet liberation happens when you stop trying to heal the past emotionally and start understanding it intelligently. Emotional repetition strengthens attachment. Understanding dissolves it. When you see clearly why something happened and how it shaped you, its emotional charge diminishes naturally. You do not need to relive pain to release it. You need to see it clearly without identification. This seeing happens in the present, not in memory. As awareness deepens, the past begins to feel farther away. Not because it disappears, but because it no longer occupies the center. Presence occupies the center. The past is just one influence among many, not the authority. It becomes a library book you can open and read, but you do not live inside the book anymore. Another transformation occurs in how you experience choice. Choice becomes real for the first time, not reactive choice, conscious choice. You choose responses instead of repeating them. You choose honesty instead of safety. You choose rest instead of endurance. These choices are not heroic, they are quiet, they happen moment by moment. And over time they accumulate into a completely different life. You may also notice that you stop dramatizing your inner world. Emotions arise and pass without story. Thoughts come and go without identity. You are no longer defined by what moves through you. This creates spaciousness. In this spaciousness, compassion arises naturally, not forced compassion. Understanding compassion. You see others acting from their conditioning. Judgment softens. Anger loses its edge. You do not excuse harm, but you see its roots. This seeing brings peace without passivity. Freedom from childhood does not mean becoming someone new. It means removing what was never you. What remains is simple, responsive, alive. And this is the most important thing to understand. Awareness does not erase the past. It integrates it. Integration is wholeness. Wholeness is freedom. Your past no longer owns you when awareness owns the moment. And awareness is always available now. This is not a future promise. It is a present possibility. Another place where childhood quietly controls adult life is in how you experience choice itself. Many people believe they are choosing freely, but most choices are simply reactions dressed up as decisions. The child learned what led to approval and what led to pain. And those lessons became invisible rules. As an adult, you often choose what feels safest emotionally, not what is most alive. You call it preference, but it is conditioning. You may choose the familiar job over the unknown calling. You may choose the predictable relationship over the nourishing one. You may choose silence over truth, not because silence is true, but because truth once carried consequences. These are not moral failures. They are adaptive habits that were never updated. Freedom appears when you begin to notice this difference, not judging it, not trying to change it, simply seeing when a choice comes from fear and when it comes from clarity. Fear feels contracted, clarity feels open. Even if the choice is difficult. This bodily intelligence is far more reliable than thought. If you are beginning to feel the contraction of fear versus the opening of clarity in your own body right now, acknowledge that shift. It is real. To help anchor this clarity in your daily life, we have created practical guides available as ebooks. They are linked in the description below. And if you value this space we are creating together, please consider becoming a member by clicking join or offering a super thanks. Your support keeps this channel alive and vibrant. Another deeply rooted inheritance from childhood is how you experience responsibility. Many children became adults too early. They learned to take care of emotions, situations, even parents. Responsibility became identity. As an adult, you may feel guilty when you rest. You may feel anxious when you let go. You may feel valuable only when carrying weight. This over-responsibility creates chronic tension. You are always on duty. Even pleasure feels undeserved. Awareness brings a radical correction. You begin to see what is truly yours to carry and what never was. You learn to put down what belongs to others. This is not selfishness, it is sanity. You cannot carry the world. You are not Atlas. And even Atlas was punished. It was not his choice. As this happens, the body begins to soften, the shoulders drop, the jaw releases, the breath deepens. These are not symbolic changes. They are the nervous system learning that it no longer has to guard against a world that no longer exists. Another subtle way childhood controls you is through emotional timing. Emotions that were once suppressed resurface later, often out of proportion to the present moment. Anger appears suddenly. Sadness arrives without context. Fear arises when there is no danger. This is not dysfunction. This is unfinished emotional movement. Awareness allows emotions to complete their natural arc. When an emotion is felt without story, without judgment, without identification, it moves through quickly. What lingers is not emotion, but resistance to emotion. The child resisted because expression was unsafe. The adult can allow because awareness provides safety. You may notice that when you allow emotion fully, it surprises you by ending. This ending restores trust in your inner world. You stop fearing your own feelings. This is a major liberation. Another area shaped by childhood is how you experience self-trust. If your perceptions were dismissed or corrected constantly as a child, you learn to doubt yourself. You look outward for confirmation. You second-guess your instincts. You ask others to tell you who you are and what you should feel. Am I doing this right? You ask. Is this the right path? The path is made by walking, not by asking for directions. Awareness restores self-trust slowly. Each time you listen inwardly and act from clarity, confidence grows. Not ego confidence, but grounded trust. You begin to rely on your own seeing. This does not make you rigid, it makes you responsive. You become your own lamp. You may also see how childhood shaped your relationship with failure. Failure may have meant humiliation, punishment, or withdrawal of love. As an adult, failure feels catastrophic. You avoid risks, you delay action, you over-prepare. This is not laziness, it is fear learned early. Awareness reframes failure completely. Failure becomes feedback information, part of learning. When fear drops, experimentation returns, creativity returns, life becomes playful again. You try, you fall, you laugh, you get up. That is how a child learns to walk. That is how a human learns to live. Another deep inheritance is how you experience intimacy with yourself. Many people are strangers to their own inner world. They know how to function but not how to feel. They are efficient but disconnected. This disconnection began when feelings were inconvenient or unsafe. Awareness invites you back into contact with yourself. Sensations, emotions, inner movements. This contact may feel overwhelming at first. Be patient. You are meeting parts of yourself that were left alone for a long time. Meeting does not require fixing, it requires presence. Presence heals by inclusion, not correction. As inclusion grows, you stop fragmenting yourself. You stop labeling parts as bad, weak, unacceptable. You see the intelligence in every adaptation, even the ones that no longer serve you. This understanding dissolves inner conflict. You are no longer a battlefield, you are a garden. In a garden, there is rain and there is sun, there are flowers and there are weeds, everything belongs. Another quiet shift happens in how you relate to your story. The story loses its grip. You still remember what happened, but it no longer defines who you are. You stop introducing yourself through your wounds. You stop explaining your limits through history. History becomes context, not identity. Identity rooted in the past keeps you bound to it. Awareness rooted in the present dissolves identity altogether. What remains is responsiveness. Responsiveness is freedom. You respond to what is happening now, not to what happened then. This is adulthood in the deepest sense. As this matures, you may notice that you stop rehearsing conversations mentally. You stop anticipating rejection. You stop preparing defenses. You meet life more directly. This directness brings freshness. Each moment becomes new rather than predictable. Another transformation occurs in how you experience joy. Joy is no longer something to chase. It arises unexpectedly, quietly, in ordinary moments because resistance has dropped. Joy does not need drama to appear. It flows naturally. You are drinking a cup of tea and suddenly there is joy. Why? Because you are fully there drinking the tea. You are not fighting with your father in your head. You are not trying to impress your mother in your head. You are just drinking tea, and tea is enough. You may also see how childhood shaped your relationship to control. Control once created safety. Now it creates tension. Awareness shows you where control is unnecessary. You relax your grip gradually. Life begins to cooperate instead of resist. This cooperation feels like support. You are not alone anymore. You never were, but now you feel it. The river is carrying you. Why are you swimming upstream? The past loses power not because it is denied, but because it is understood. Understanding is light. Conditioning dissolves in light, the way darkness dissolves at dawn. This dissolution is not instant, it is gentle. It unfolds as awareness becomes a habit, not a state, a way of living, not an experience. And as awareness becomes your home, the child inside you no longer needs to protect, perform, or hide. It can finally rest. And when the child rests, the adult arrives fully. This is what it means to be free of the past, not erased, integrated, and lived beyond. When the child inside you finally begins to rest, something very fundamental changes in how you experience life itself. Life no longer feels like a test you must pass or a threat you must manage. It begins to feel like a movement you are part of. This shift is subtle but decisive. You stop standing against life, bracing yourself for impact, and you begin to stand within it, sensing its direction, its moods, its pauses. This standing within life was never taught to you as a child because your environment may not have allowed it. You learned instead to stand against life, to prepare, to defend, to endure. That endurance became strength, but it also became distance. This distance is the hidden cost of childhood conditioning. You survived, but you did not relax. You functioned, but you did not feel safe enough to melt into existence. Even now as an adult, you may notice that you rarely let yourself fully arrive in a moment. Something remains slightly withdrawn, watching, calculating, ready. This readiness once protected you. Now it prevents intimacy with life. Awareness begins to dissolve this readiness, not by arguing with it, but by showing it that the danger is no longer here. Another deeply rooted pattern from childhood is how you experience permission. Many children grew up without permission to be spontaneous, emotional, slow, playful, or uncertain. Permission was conditional. As an adult, you may still be waiting for someone or something to give you the green light to live freely. You wait for circumstances to improve, for confidence to appear, for fear to disappear. This waiting is the past continuing to rule. Awareness reveals something very simple and very radical. Permission was never needed. It was only assumed. The moment you see this, a quiet courage begins to grow. Not the courage to fight or rebel, but the courage to allow yourself to be as you are. This allowance does not make you irresponsible, it makes you real. You may notice that once you stop waiting for permission, your movements become more authentic. You speak more honestly, you rest more deeply, you choose more clearly. Not because you are trying to improve, but because you are no longer suppressing yourself. Suppression required effort. Authenticity is effortless. Another subtle inheritance from childhood is how you experience silence. Silence may have meant emotional withdrawal, punishment, or danger. As an adult, silence can feel uncomfortable, even threatening. You fill it with noise, activity, thought. But silence is not empty. Silence is where awareness deepens. Silence is where the adult presence stabilizes. As awareness grows, silence becomes nourishing. You no longer need constant stimulation to feel alive. Aliveness moves inward. You begin to sense life pulsing quietly beneath thought. This pulsing was always there, but noise drowned it out. Childhood noise becomes adult habit. Awareness restores listening. Listening is a crucial word here. Not listening to others only, but listening to yourself. Listening to your body before it collapses. Listening to your emotions before they explode. Listening to your fatigue before it turns into illness. Childhood taught you to ignore these signals. Maturity teaches you to honor them. If you are beginning to hear these signals, if you are learning to honor the quiet voice within, please support this channel by hitting the join button or sending a super thanks. You help us keep this space of silence and listening available to all. And do not forget to subscribe and like. It is a small act of connection. Another long-standing effect of childhood conditioning is how you experience success and failure. Success may have been praised excessively, making it intoxicating, or it may have been ignored, making it meaningless. Failure may have been punished harshly, making it terrifying. As an adult, this creates distorted motivation. You either chase success compulsively or avoid risk entirely. Neither brings peace. Awareness dissolves these extremes. You begin to act without attaching your identity to outcomes. You do what feels true, not what guarantees approval. When identity is lost, fear is lost with it. You discover that you can survive disappointment without collapsing. This discovery is empowering. You realize you are bigger than your failures. You are bigger than your successes. You are the sky. These are just clouds. Another area shaped by childhood is how you handle vulnerability. Vulnerability may have been dangerous. It may have been used against you. So, you learn to stay guarded. As an adult, you may crave closeness but resist exposure. You want intimacy without risk. This is impossible. Love requires openness. Awareness allows vulnerability to return slowly, intelligently. You do not expose yourself recklessly. You open where there is safety. You close where there is not. This discernment is not fear, it is wisdom. Vulnerability guided by awareness heals both the child and the adult. As this integration deepens, you may notice that your inner dialogue softens, the harsh voice loses authority, the constant self-evaluation weakens. This does not mean you stop learning. It means learning happens without cruelty. You correct gently, you adjust patiently. You stop attacking yourself for being human. This gentleness is not softness in the weak sense. It is a strength without violence. It is clarity without aggression. It allows sustained growth instead of burnout. Another transformation occurs in how you relate to the future. The future no longer dominates the present. Planning still happens, but anxiety does not drive it. You prepare, but you do not obsess. This frees enormous mental energy. Presence becomes primary. The future becomes secondary. You may notice that memories lose emotional charge. They still exist, but they no longer hijack the nervous system. A memory arises and passes like a cloud. This is integration. The past has been digested. What was indigestible before is now understood. Understanding does not mean approving. It means seeing clearly, seeing why people acted as they did, seeing why you adapted as you did. This seeing dissolves resentment without forcing forgiveness. Forgiveness happens naturally when blame loses meaning. Another profound shift happens in how you experience identity. You stop asking who you should be and start noticing who you are. When you stop trying, this noticing is liberating. The self becomes fluid. You are not trapped in a single narrative. You respond freshly to each moment. Freshness is the opposite of conditioning. Conditioning repeats. Freshness responds. Freshness is life moving through you unblocked. As freshness becomes familiar, life regains color. Not excitement, but richness. Depth replaces drama. Presence replaces intensity. You no longer need extremes to feel alive. Ordinary moments carry meaning. This is one of the clearest signs that childhood no longer owns you. You can be simple and fulfilled at the same time. The past loses its grip not because it disappears, but because you are no longer living inside it. You live from awareness now. Awareness does not belong to time. It is always now. And in this now, the child is no longer in charge. The adult presence stands calmly, compassionately, without struggle. This is freedom from the past, not achieved, not earned, but allowed. As this adult presence stabilizes, you may notice something very subtle yet transformative. Your relationship with effort itself begins to change. Much of your effort was never about life. It was about preventing pain, avoiding disapproval, or earning safety. When awareness replaces fear, effort softens into action. Action feels cleaner. It does not drain you in the same way. You may still work hard at times, but the hardness is no longer inside. There is movement without tension. This is one of the clearest signs that the past is losing its hold. Another deep layer of childhood conditioning reveals itself in how you experience hope. For many children, hope was dangerous. Hope led to disappointment. Expectation led to loss. So you learn to keep expectations low or to hope obsessively and fear the fall. As an adult, this creates a conflicted inner state. You want change, but you do not fully trust it. You imagine a better life, but you brace for its collapse. Awareness heals this split by removing the emotional charge from hope itself. You stop projecting happiness into the future. You stop waiting for life to finally be safe. Safety becomes something you cultivate inwardly, moment by moment. From this inner safety, hope becomes gentle, flexible, and non-attached. You are open to good things without clinging to them. This openness allows life to surprise you without breaking you. Another hidden inheritance from childhood is how you experience anger. Anger may have been forbidden, explosive, or punished. As an adult, you may either suppress it completely or feel overwhelmed when it arises. Suppressed anger turns inward and becomes depression, fatigue, or self-criticism. Explosive anger damages connection, neither is freedom. Awareness allows anger to be felt as energy rather than identity. You sense its heat, its movement, its message without becoming violent or self-destructive. You do not have to be an angry person just because anger is passing through you. It is like a storm passing through the sky. The sky does not become the storm. It holds it, watches it, and lets it pass. When anger is allowed without acting it out, it transforms into clarity and strength. This is mature power, not childish rebellion. The child rebels because he feels weak. The adult stands firm because he feels clear. Anger, when purified by awareness, becomes a sword that cuts through lies, not a bomb that destroys bridges. It helps you say no when no is needed. It helps you say stop when a boundary is crossed. As this maturity grows, you may notice that your boundaries become clearer without becoming rigid. You say no without guilt. You say yes without resentment. You do not need to explain every decision. You do not need to provide a lawyer's defense for why you do not want to go to a party. You simply do not want to go. That is enough. Boundaries no longer feel like walls. They feel like clarity. Walls are built out of fear to keep everything out. Boundaries are built out of respect to keep the sacred in. This clarity protects your energy. Naturally, another significant shift occurs in how you experience shame. Shame is one of the deepest residues of childhood. It arises not from what you did, but from who you were made to feel you were. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am a mistake. This is a poison. It lives silently in the body, shaping posture, voice, and self-image. It makes you apologize for occupying space. It makes you speak quietly, as if your voice does not matter. Awareness brings shame into the light, not to expose it, but to dissolve it. Shame is like a fungus. It grows in the dark. The moment you expose it to the sunlight of awareness, it begins to die. When shame is seen clearly, it loses credibility. You realize that it was never yours. It was absorbed, borrowed, inherited. You took it from a parent who carried it from their parent. It is a generational sickness. This realization does not create pride, it creates relief. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for existing. Your body begins to occupy space differently. You sit fully in the chair. You breathe fully into your belly. You look people in the eye. Not because you are trying to be dominant, but because you have nothing to hide. If you are ready to release this generational weight, if you are ready to stop apologizing for your existence, consider using the resources we have created. The ebooks linked below are designed to help you navigate these deep waters of shame and anger. And if this message is helping you stand taller today, please click super thanks or join. It is a way of honoring the exchange of energy. Another area shaped by childhood is how you deal with uncertainty in relationships. You may crave closeness but fear dependence. You want to merge, yet you want to run. You may fear abandonment even when there is no sign of it. Your partner is late by 10 minutes, and your mind says, they have left, they are never coming back. This is not the adult mind speaking. This is the child waiting at the school gate, terrified that no one will come. These fears belong to a time when your survival depended on others. If the parent did not come, you would die. But now, if the partner leaves, you will cry, you will be sad, but you will not die. You will cook your dinner, you will sleep, you will wake up. Life will continue. Awareness brings this perspective. You can be close without losing yourself. You can be alone without collapsing. This emotional independence is not coldness, it is security. From security, love becomes freer. You give without bargaining. You do not give love to get safety. You give love because you are love. You receive without suspicion. You are present without fear of disappearance. You enjoy the flower without worrying that it will fade. You know it will fade, and that makes the moment even more precious. As the grip of the past loosens, you may notice a change in your inner rhythm. You no longer rush into decisions to escape discomfort. The mind loves to rush. It says, decide now, fix it now, because it cannot tolerate the tension of not knowing. You allow discomfort to exist long enough for clarity to emerge. You sit with the question, you do not force the answer. This patience is not passivity, it is intelligence trusting itself. It is the farmer trusting the seed. You do not pull the plant up to see if the roots are growing. You wait, you water, you trust. Another quiet liberation appears in how you experience comparison. Childhood often introduced comparison early. Why can't you be like your brother? Look at your cousin, she gets good grades. Siblings, peers, expectations. Comparison became a measure of worth. As an adult, comparison steals joy. You look at social media, you look at your neighbors, and suddenly your life feels small. Awareness exposes comparison as meaningless. You stop measuring yourself against others. You sense your own rhythm, your own timing. This individuality is not egoic, it is organic. A rose does not compare itself to a lotus. It does not say, oh, I wish I grew in the mud like the lotus. It blooms where it is content being a rose. Awareness restores this natural growth. You realize that your path is unique. Your stumbling blocks are unique. Your victories are unique. There is no standard. There is only your unfolding. You may also notice that your relationship with mistakes changes profoundly. Mistakes no longer feel like exposure of inadequacy. They feel like part of movement. A dancer stumbles, but she keeps dancing. The stumble becomes part of the dance. This removes a huge weight. Creativity flourishes where fear of mistakes dissolves. If you are not allowed to make mistakes, you will never make anything new. You will only repeat what is safe. Another deeply conditioned area is how you handle stillness when nothing is happening. Many adults feel restless when there is no problem to solve. They walk around the house looking for something to fix, something to clean, something to worry about. This restlessness belongs to a childhood where calm moments were interrupted or unsafe. If it is quiet, the storm is coming. So you learn to keep moving, to keep the noise up. Awareness retrains the nervous system to rest without anticipation. You sit on the porch, nothing is happening, and for the first time, this nothing is not empty, it is full. In this resting, something extraordinary happens. You begin to enjoy being alive without needing a stimulation. You do not need a phone, a screen, a conversation, a drink. You just need your breath. This enjoyment is quiet but profound. It does not depend on circumstances. It comes from alignment. You are aligned with life. You are not fighting the river. you are floating. As alignment deepens, the past begins to feel less personal. You see it as a sequence of causes and effects rather than a verdict on who you are. My father was angry because his father was angry. It is a chain. You are just the link where the chain can be broken. This perspective removes bitterness. You do not need to rewrite the past. You cannot. The ink is dry, but you can understand it. Understanding is enough. It washes the wound clean. Another transformation appears in how you experience responsibility for your own inner world. You stop expecting others to regulate your emotions. You stop blaming circumstances for inner chaos. I am angry because of the traffic. No, you are angry because you have anger inside you. The traffic just pressed the button. This responsibility is not a burden, it is empowerment. If you blame the traffic, you have to wait for the world to have no traffic to be happy. That will never happen. If you take responsibility, you can be peaceful even in traffic. You realize that awareness gives you choice even when emotions arise. This choice is subtle. It does not prevent feelings. It prevents unconscious action. This distinction changes everything. As this continues, you may feel a quiet confidence that does not depend on certainty. You trust your ability to respond, not your ability to control. You cannot control the waves, but you can learn to surf. This trust is the foundation of freedom. The child inside you no longer needs to run the system because it finally feels held. Not by parents, not by partners, but by awareness itself. This holding is stable. It does not disappear when others disappoint you. It does not collapse when life changes. It remains. And in that holding, life becomes something you participate in rather than survive. The past may still whisper, but it no longer commands. Awareness listens and chooses. As this awareness becomes more familiar, you may begin to sense a profound change in how you experience yourself from moment to moment. Before, you lived as if you were always slightly behind life, trying to catch up, trying to adjust, trying to manage what was already happening. This constant adjustment belonged to a childhood where the environment was unpredictable. You learned to scan, to prepare, to adapt quickly. Now awareness brings you into sync with life. You are no longer chasing the moment. You are arriving with it. This arrival has a felt quality in the body. The chest softens. The breath deepens without effort. The eyes relax. These changes are not imagined. They are signals that the nervous system is no longer locked in survival mode. When survival mode relaxes, intelligence expresses itself more clearly. Decisions become simpler. Conflicts feel less dramatic. You do not lose strength, you lose strain. There is a great difference between strength and strain. Strain is effort, strength is presence. Another subtle imprint of childhood conditioning is how you experience joy when it appears. Many people unconsciously sabotage joy because joy once attracted loss, jealousy, or punishment. As a child, being too happy may have drawn unwanted attention. Quiet down, they said, don't show off. Or perhaps you were happy and then something terrible happened and the child mind linked the two. Happiness causes pain. As an adult, you may limit happiness without realizing it. You get good news and immediately you worry. You have a beautiful day and you feel guilty. Awareness makes this visible. Once seen, joy no longer needs to be controlled. It is allowed to rise and fall naturally. Allowing joy fully also allows sadness fully. This balance restores emotional health. Emotions are no longer divided into acceptable and unacceptable. They are simply movements. This acceptance does not make you emotional in a chaotic way. It makes you integrated. You become like the ocean. The surface has waves, joy, sadness, anger, but the depth is silent. You are the depth, not just the waves. Another deeply rooted pattern is how you experience trust. Trust may have been broken early, promises not kept, safety withdrawn. As an adult, you may trust selectively or not at all. You may rely on systems, plans, or control rather than people or life itself. If I control everything, I don't need to trust anyone. This is a very lonely way to live. Awareness begins to heal trust not by convincing you to trust blindly, that is stupidity, but by strengthening your inner stability. When you trust yourself to respond, you no longer need guarantees. You know that if someone betrays you, you will handle it. If life knocks you down, you will get up. Life does not feel like a gamble. It feels like a relationship. You participate, you adjust, you learn. This flexibility is trust in action. Another transformation occurs in how you experience meaning. Childhood may have taught you that meaning comes from approval, achievement, or belonging. You matter if you are a doctor. You matter if you marry the right person. As these structures dissolve through awareness, meaning may feel temporarily absent. You might feel a void. Do not panic. This void is necessary. This absence is not emptiness. It is space. Space for a deeper meaning to emerge. Meaning that comes from presence, not performance. You may find meaning in simple acts, in listening, in creating, in caring, in being attentive. You water a plant, and there is meaning. You look at a star, and there is meaning. This meaning is quiet but sustaining. It does not fluctuate with success or failure. It remains. If you are finding meaning in these words, if you feel a resonance in your heart, consider deepening your commitment to this path. Join our community by clicking the join button. It is a way to say yes to this new kind of meaning, and your super thanks donations help us reach those who are still lost in the performance of life. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay connected. Another aspect of childhood conditioning is how you experience endings. Endings may have been abrupt, painful, or confusing. A parent left, a friend moved away, a pet died, and no one explained it. As an adult, you may resist endings, hold on too long, or avoid commitment to prevent loss. You stay in a dead job because leaving feels like death. You stay in a dead relationship because goodbye feels impossible. Awareness brings a new relationship with endings. Endings become completions rather than threats. When something ends, you feel sadness without collapse. You let go without bitterness. You honor what was without clinging. This ability to end gracefully is a sign of maturity. The leaf falls from the tree without complaint. It makes space for the new bud. As this maturity deepens, you may notice that you stop seeking intensity. Intensity often masked emptiness or fear. You needed the loud music, the fast car, the dramatic fight to feel something. Now depth replaces intensity. Depth does not need extremes. It grows quietly. It supports you even in ordinary moments. You can sit in a quiet room and feel an immensity that no roller coaster can give you. Another deeply conditioned pattern is how you experience attention. You may crave attention because attention once meant safety, or you may avoid attention because attention once meant danger. Awareness balances this. You neither seek nor avoid attention. You are comfortable being seen and unseen. This comfort brings freedom. You can speak on a stage and you can sit in the back row. Both are fine. You are not defined by the eyes of others. You may also notice that your relationship with creativity changes. Creativity no longer feels pressured. It becomes playful. You create because something wants to move through you, not because you need validation. This removes fear of judgment. Expression becomes joyful. You paint, you write, you build, you cook. Not for the prize, but for the pleasure of the action itself. Another area influenced by childhood is how you handle uncertainty in yourself. You may feel uncomfortable not knowing who you are, what you want, where you are going. Who am I? Asks the mind. And if it has no answer, it panics. Awareness makes not knowing safe. In not knowing, you remain open. In openness, new directions emerge naturally. This openness is fertile. It allows life to guide rather than be forced. Guidance does not come as commands. It comes as subtle inclinations, quiet pulls, gentle nudges, a feeling to go left instead of right, a feeling to call this person. Awareness allows you to sense them. As this sensitivity grows, you may notice that your inner world becomes less crowded. Thoughts slow, emotions flow, silence expands. This does not make you passive, it makes you clear. Clarity allows you to respond rather than react. Response is fresh. Reaction is old. Each response weakens the past. Each reaction strengthens it. Awareness shifts you gradually from reaction to response. It is a shifting of the weight from the back foot to the front foot, from the dead yesterday to the living today. Another transformation happens in how you experience responsibility for others. You stop rescuing, you stop fixing, you stop carrying what is not yours. This is often the hardest step for good people. You think you are being kind by carrying everyone's luggage. You are not. You are stealing their journey. Compassion remains, but codependence dissolves. This frees both you and others. You give them the dignity of their own struggle. You stand by them, but you do not carry them. You may also see how childhood shaped your sense of urgency. Urgency once meant survival. I must do it now or I will be punished. Now urgency creates suffering. You rush through your breakfast, to rush to work, to rush home, to rush to sleep. You are never at breakfast, you are never at work. You are always at the next thing. Awareness reveals when urgency is unnecessary. You slow down, you breathe, you wait. This waiting brings wisdom. As wisdom grows, you stop dramatizing your inner life. You do not turn experiences into stories unnecessarily. You live them and let them pass. You have a headache. It is not a cosmic punishment. It is not a sign of failure. It is just a headache. You take a pill, you rest. Simple. This simplicity is freeing. Another quiet liberation appears when you stop identifying with moods. Moods come and go. Awareness remains. This recognition stabilizes you. You are no longer at the mercy of inner weather. One moment it is sunny, next moment it is raining. So what? You are the sky. You hold both. As stability deepens, confidence emerges naturally. Not bravado, not arrogance, but confidence rooted in presence. You trust yourself to meet life as it comes. This trust is the true end of childhood domination. The child no longer needs to protect because awareness is present. The adult presence is steady. The past does not disappear, but it no longer defines. You are no longer living from what happened. You are living from what is happening. And that changes everything. Now it is time to let everything settle. Not as ideas, not as conclusions, but as a quiet understanding that continues to work long after these words end. What has been revealed here is simple yet life-changing. Your childhood did not ruin you, it shaped you, and what shapes can also be reshaped the moment awareness enters. You were never weak for adapting, you were intelligent, you survived the only way you could. But survival is not meant to last forever. Survival is meant to give way to living. And living begins the moment you stop letting unconscious patterns decide your present. Remember this deeply. The past does not control you because it is powerful. It controls you because it is unseen. The moment it is seen clearly, without blame, without drama, without self-attack, its authority begins to dissolve. Awareness does not fight the past. Awareness outgrows it. You do not need to fix the child inside you. You do not need to heal it through endless effort. You only need to be present enough to see when it is reacting. In that seeing, adulthood arrives naturally. The child relaxes because it is no longer alone. Freedom from the past does not mean you will never feel old emotions again. It means those emotions no longer decide who you are or how you act. They arise, they pass, and you remain. This remaining is maturity. This remaining is freedom. Your past may still whisper, but it no longer commands. Your body may still remember, but awareness now leads. And when awareness leads, choice becomes possible for the first time. Carry this understanding gently. Do not turn it into another task. Do not judge yourself when old patterns appear. Each moment of seeing weakens repetition and strengthens presence. This is enough, more than enough. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not owned by yesterday. You are standing at the point where conditioning ends and consciousness begins. And from this point, life is no longer something that happens to you. Life becomes something that moves through you. Life becomes something that moves through you like a breeze moves through an open window. You are no longer the wall blocking the wind. You are the space that allows it. This is the ultimate shift from resistance to allowing. Resistance is the child's way of saying no to a world that felt too big. Allowing is the adult's way of saying yes to the vastness of existence. And as you stand in this yes, you begin to notice other areas where the past has been quietly restricting your flow. One of the most significant and often overlooked areas is your relationship with your own body. For many, the body is not a temple, it is a battleground. You fight its weight, its shape, its aging, its needs. You treat it like a disobedient animal that must be tamed or a machine that must be fixed. Where did this war begin? It began in childhood. The child is pure body. The child lives in the senses. But very early on, the body becomes a site of control. Sit still. Don't touch that. Stop crying. Eat everything on your plate. The body's natural intelligence was overruled by external commands. You learn to ignore your hunger, your fatigue, your impulse to move. You learn that the mind is the master and the body is the slave. As an adult, this creates a profound disconnection. You live in your head, hovering a few inches above your body. You do not feel your feet on the ground. You do not feel your breath in your belly. You only visit the body when it screams in pain or when you seek pleasure, and even then the visit is brief. The visit. Awareness invites you to re-inhabit the body. This is not about fitness or beauty. Those are external games. This is about embodiment. It is about feeling the life force pulsing in your hands, your legs, your spine. When you bring awareness back into the body begins to release the trauma it has stored. The tight shoulders drop. The clenched jaw softens, the shallow breath deepens, This release is physical, but the effect is spiritual. You cannot be spiritual if you are not in your body. The body is your anchor in the present moment. The mind travels to the past and future. The body is always here. If you want to find the present, find your feet. Feel the sensation of the floor. That simple sensation is the doorway out of the childhood trance. Another deep groove of conditioning is found in your relationship with money and security. Money is rarely just paper and metal. It is a canvas onto which you project your deepest fears and desires. For the child, money was a mystery held by the giants, the parents. It was the source of food, shelter, and toys. It was often the cause of arguments, tension, or silence. If you grew up in scarcity, you may have developed a hoarding mentality. You accumulate, you save, you worry. Even if you have millions, you feel poor. The inner child is still waiting for the famine. You cannot enjoy what you have because you are terrified of losing it. This is not financial prudence, it is anxiety dressed as wisdom. On the other hand, if money was used as a substitute for love, if parents gave gifts instead of time, you may compulsively spend. You buy things to fill the emptiness. You try to purchase the warmth you missed. The thrill of buying lasts a moment, then the void returns. Awareness shines a light on this. It separates money from survival and money from love. Money becomes a tool, an energy to be used, circulated, and enjoyed. It loses its magical power to define your worth. You realize that your safety does not come from the bank account. It comes from your capacity to navigate reality. You could lose everything tomorrow, and if you are centered, you will survive. You will rebuild. This knowing is true wealth. If you are ready to break these chains of scarcity and fear, if you are ready to invest in your own consciousness, consider supporting this channel. Click join to become a member of our growing community of seekers, or send a super thanks as a gesture of gratitude. Your support helps us keep the light of awareness burning for everyone. And for those who want to go deeper, our ebooks on mastering the mind and emotions are linked below. Another subtle layer of childhood conditioning is the good child syndrome. Many of you were praised for being good. What did good mean? It meant convenient. It meant quiet. It meant you did not cause trouble for the parents. You learned to suppress your liveliness to buy their approval. You cut off your own wings so you wouldn't fly away or knock things over. As an adult, this goodness becomes a prison. You are terrified of being bad, which now means being authentic, saying no, or disappointing others. You walk on eggshells. You apologize before you speak. You are a nice person, but you are not a happy person. Happiness requires a certain amount of rebellion. It requires the courage to be inconvenient to others if it means being true to yourself. The good child is a role. Beneath it is a repressed shadow. The shadow contains all the energy you pushed away, your anger, your wildness, your selfishness, your sexuality. Healing involves inviting the shadow back to the table. It means realizing that it is okay to be bad if being bad means being real. You do not have to be malicious, but you must be whole. Wholeness includes the light and the dark. When you stop trying to be good, you become real. And a real person is far more beautiful than a good person. A good person is plastic. A real person is organic. A real person has roots and branches, storms and stillness. A real person can be trusted because they are not hiding anything. This leads us to the conditioning around sexuality and pleasure. This is often the most repressed area, because society fears the raw power of sex. As a child, you may have learned that your body's impulses were shameful, dirty, or dangerous. Curiosity was punished, exploration was forbidden, the message was clear: don't look there, don't touch there. This shame goes deep. It disconnects you from your root energy. As an adult, sex becomes a performance, a duty, or a secret release, rather than a sacred communion or a playful dance. You may feel guilt after pleasure. You may struggle to be vulnerable in the most intimate moments. Awareness brings innocence back to sexuality. It cleans the lens. You see that the body is nature, and nature is not dirty. The tree is not dirty. The river is not dirty. Your desire is not dirty. It is life energy seeking expression. When you bring meditation into sexuality, it transforms. It is no longer just a physical act. It becomes a merging, a dissolving of the ego. The shame evaporates because there is no one there to be ashamed. There is only energy moving. Another transformation happens in how you relate to solitude. The child is terrified of being left alone. To be alone means death. So the adult is terrified of being alone. You fill your life with people, noise, work, entertainment. You cannot sit in a room by yourself for 1 hour without reaching for your phone. You are running from yourself. You are running because you think that if you stop, you will find loneliness. And you are right. At first, you will find loneliness. Loneliness is the poverty of the self. It is missing the other. It is a negative state. I am lonely because he is not here. But if you stay with the loneliness, if you do not run, if you let the awareness penetrate it, loneliness transforms into aloneness. Aloneness is the richness of the self. It is the presence of oneself. It is a positive state. I am alone and I am overflowing. In aloneness, you are not missing anyone. You are enjoying your own company. You are whole. This shift from loneliness to aloneness is the greatest maturity. It means you are no longer a beggar. You can be with people and you can be without people. Your joy does not depend on the crowd. You carry your own atmosphere. This capacity for aloneness makes you capable of love for the first time. Two lonely people cannot love. They can only cling. They use each other as escapes. Two alone people can love because they do not need each other. They share their abundance. Their love is not a need. It is a luxury. It is a celebration. Another deep conditioning is the belief in hard work as the only virtue. Life is a struggle, they told you. You have to fight for your place. This creates a life of grim determination. You are always pushing the river. You are exhausted, but you feel guilty if you rest. You wear your stress like a badge of honor. Awareness reveals that life is not a struggle, it is a play. Leela, it is a cosmic dance. Yes, there is effort, but it can be playful effort. Look at a child playing. They are very serious about their play. They put all their energy into it, but it is not work. It is joy. When you drop the idea of struggle, you move from force to power. Force is aggressive. Power is receptive. You align with the Tao, the current of life. You do less, but more happens. You stop swimming upstream and let the current carry you to the ocean. This requires trust. Trust that the river knows where it is going. And where is the river going? It is going to the ocean of consciousness. Your childhood conditioning was just a dam blocking the river. Awareness is the cracking of the dam. At first, it is just a trickle, then a stream, then a flood, and finally, the river is free. As you integrate these understandings, you may find that your relationship with time changes even further. The rush disappears. You stop trying to get somewhere. You realize that there is nowhere to get to. This moment is the destination. The tea you are drinking, the person you are talking to, the breath you are taking, this is it. There is no glorious future waiting to reward you for your suffering. The reward is in the quality of your presence now. This is hard for the mind to accept. The mind lives on hope. Tomorrow will be better. Awareness lives on reality. Today is real. When you give up hope for a better past and think about that, trying to fix a past that is gone, and give up the anxiety for a better future, you explode into the present. You become alive. You also begin to see the difference between intellect and intelligence. Intellect is what you learned in school. It is memory. It is borrowed. 2 plus 2 is 4. The capital of France is Paris. This is useful, but it is dead. Intelligence is what you were born with. It is the capacity to see, to feel, to respond to the new. Childhood conditioning stuffed you with intellect and dulled your intelligence. You became a parrot, repeating what others said. Awareness clears the dust from the mirror. You stop repeating and start seeing. You look at a flower as if you have never seen it before. You look at your partner as if you are meeting them for the first time. This is the beginner's mind. It is the highest form of intelligence. It is fresh, vibrant, and alive. In this freshness, you reclaim your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. This is a Zen koan, but it points to a deep truth. Your essence is not the product of your upbringing. Your upbringing is just the dust on the diamond. You are the diamond. You may also notice a change in how you handle criticism. The child is devastated by criticism because the child thinks the parent is a god. If daddy says, "I am bad, I must be bad," the adult with awareness hears criticism differently. You hear it as information about the other person. If someone calls you stupid, it reveals their anger, their judgment, their standard. It may have nothing to do with you. You can look at it, see if there is any truth in it. If there is, you learn. If not, you discard it. You do not collapse. You do not need to defend. You remain the sky. This resilience is not armor. Armor is hard and brittle. It can be cracked. This resilience is soft and fluid. It is like water. You cannot hurt water. You can strike it with a sword, but the water simply yields and then returns. Be like water. This fluidity allows you to forgive, not because you should, but because you see the futility of holding on. Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only kills you. When you see the mechanism of conditioning, how everyone is a victim of victims, forgiveness happens. It is a letting go of the hot coal you were holding. As we move deeper into this integration, realize that this is a process of subtraction, not addition. You are not adding spirituality to your ego. You are subtracting the illusions, the fears, the borrowed beliefs. You are chipping away the stone to reveal the statue that was always there. If you are feeling the weight of the stone falling away, if you feel lighter listening to this, please support the channel. Your super thanks is a beautiful energy exchange. Your membership via the join button helps us continue this work of subtraction. And your like and subscribe help the algorithm find others who are ready to drop their burdens. Another profound shift is in your definition of home. As a child, home was a physical place, often fraught with tension. You may have spent your life looking for the perfect home, the perfect partner, the perfect sanctuary. You realize now that home is not a place. Home is a quality of being. You are your own home. Wherever you go, you are at home because you are at peace with yourself. You can be in a hotel room, in a forest, in a crowded city, and you are at home. The wandering stops. This does not mean you don't enjoy a beautiful house, but you are not dependent on it. You are the emperor of your own inner kingdom. This sovereignty is the ultimate freedom. No one can exile you from yourself. And finally you begin to laugh. Not the polite laughter of society, but the belly laughter of the mystic. You laugh at the cosmic joke. You laugh at how seriously you took the game. You laugh at your own dramas. Laughter is the sound of breaking chains. It is the most spiritual sound on earth. A serious person is a sick person. A laughing person is a healing person. Your childhood was the drama that allowed you to wake up. Without the darkness, you would not seek the light. Without the chains, you would not know the value of freedom. So you can even be grateful for the conditioning. It was the resistance training for your soul. It made you strong enough to seek the truth. Now, you are no longer the prisoner. You are the observer. You are the witness. And the witness is free, always free. It was never born, and it will never die. The child was born. The child suffered. The child grew old. But you, the awareness behind the child, you are untouched. Rest in this untouched nature. This is your true inheritance, not the trauma, not the fear, not the guilt. Those were just the packaging. The gift is inside. The gift is you. As you walk through your days now, carry this secret with you. I am not what happened to me. I am what observes what happened. This single thought, this single shift in perception breaks the spell. The hypnotism ends. You wake up. And when you wake up, the nightmare of the past dissolves. It may leave scars, but even scars can be beautiful. They are proof that you survived. They are proof that you healed. They are the map of your journey from unconsciousness to consciousness. Do not hide your scars. Do not hide your past. Use it. Use it to understand others. Use it to have compassion. Use it to help those who are still asleep. Your pain can become your medicine. Your wound can become your wisdom. This is the alchemy of awareness, turning the lead of childhood trauma into the gold of adult presence. It is possible. It is happening right now. Can you feel it? Can you feel the lightness entering your chest? Can you feel the space opening behind your eyes? That is the adult arriving. That is the master taking his seat. That is the master taking his seat. And understand clearly, the master is not a tyrant. The tyrant controls. The master commands through presence. The tyrant needs to shout. The master only needs to whisper. When you are the master of your own house, you do not need to suppress the children, your emotions, your instincts, your desires. You allow them to play, but you do not let them burn down the house. This brings us to a very subtle trap that many seekers fall into. It is the trap of the healing ego. You begin to treat your healing like a project. You want to be the most healed person in the room. You judge yourself for having a bad day. You say, I should be over this by now. I have meditated for 10 years. Why am I still angry? Who is saying this? It is the same ambitious child now wearing spiritual robes. It is the same perfectionist who used to cry over a bad grade in mathematics, now crying over a bad meditation session. The content has changed, but the pattern is the same. You are still trying to earn approval, perhaps from yourself, perhaps from an imagined God, perhaps from a guru. Drop this project. You are not a house under renovation. You are a garden unfolding. A garden does not try to be perfect. It tries to be alive. Sometimes there are weeds, sometimes there are storms, sometimes the roses bloom, and sometimes they fade. It is all part of the organic rhythm. If you try to manicure your soul into a plastic perfection, you will kill it. Allow the messiness. I say to you, be beautifully messy, be a chaotic harmony, do not force a dead order. The cemetery has perfect order, no one makes a noise there, but you are alive. Let your aliveness include your flaws, your stumbles, your regressions. When you embrace your imperfection, you become unassailable. No one can humiliate you because you have already accepted your humanity. This acceptance is the only soil in which true transformation grows. If you reject your anger, it goes into the basement and lifts weights. It comes back as rage. If you accept your anger, if you invite it in for tea, it loses its violence. It becomes just energy. It becomes passion. It becomes the capacity to say no when no is needed. This brings us deeper into the shadow. The shadow contains everything you threw away to survive your childhood. Your parents wanted a nice boy, so you threw away your aggression. They wanted a quiet girl, so you threw away your voice. They wanted a sexless angel, so you threw away your vitality. Now you feel incomplete, you feel flat, you are nice, but you are boring, you lack juice. To reclaim your life, you must go into the basement and retrieve what you threw away. You must reclaim your aggression, not to hurt others, but to protect your truth. You must reclaim your voice, not to scream, but to sing your song. You must reclaim your vitality. This work is frightening because you have been told these parts are bad, but nothing in existence is bad. Even poison in the right hands becomes medicine. Even darkness is needed for the roots to grow. You need your shadow to give you depth. A picture without shadows has no dimension. It is flat. A person without a shadow is superficial. Be deep. Be three-dimensional. Integrate the devil and the saint within you. When they dance together, that is wholeness. That is Zorba the Buddha. Zorba loves the earth, the wine, the dance, the body. Buddha loves the sky, the silence, the stars. I want you to be both. Why choose? Why be poor when you can be rich in both worlds? If you are afraid of your own shadow, if you feel the monsters in the basement scratching at the door, let us help you open that door safely. Our ebooks on shadow work and emotional integration are powerful guides for this descent. Find the link in the description. And if you value this guidance, if you feel the truth of it resonating in your bones, click join or send a super thanks. It is a way of saying yes to your own wholeness. Now let us look at the fear of going crazy. As you release control, the mind will scream, "We are losing it. We are going to crash." This is a very common fear on the path of awareness. The ego equates control with sanity. But look at the world controlled by the ego. Is it sane? Wars, destruction, greed, misery. This is the sanity of the ego. Real sanity looks like madness to the ego. It is the sanity of the birds, of the trees, of the rivers. They do not control, yet everything happens. The seasons come, the sun rises, the seeds sprout. There is a vast intelligence at work that does not require your little steering wheel. To trust this intelligence feels like jumping off a cliff. The child inside holds on to the railing, terrified. If I let go, I will die. Awareness says, let go, you will not die, you will fly. Or perhaps you will fall, but you will realize there is no bottom. You will float in the vastness. This letting go is the essence of trust. Not trust in a person, people are fallible. Not trust in a plan, plans fail. but trust in the process of life itself. Trust that you are held by something larger than your understanding. When you let go of the rigid mind, you enter the cloud of unknowing. This is a beautiful state. You don't know what will happen next, and you are okay with it. You are curious rather than afraid. I wonder what life will bring today. This curiosity is the fountain of youth. It keeps your spirit young. The controlling mind is old, ancient, dusty. The curious consciousness is fresh, like the morning dew. When you meet a situation with "I know," you are dead. When you meet it with "I don't know, let's see," you are alive. This affects your listening. Have you noticed that most people do not listen? They are reloading. They are waiting for you to pause so they can fire their next prepared sentence. They are listening to their own internal dialogue, not to you. This is defense. This is the child protecting itself, preparing the argument to prove "I am right, I am safe." True listening is an act of love. It is emptiness. You become a hollow bamboo. You let the other person's words enter you without resistance. You do not judge. You do not prepare an answer. You simply receive. In that deep listening, often the other person is healed. They feel received. They feel heard. And often the conflict dissolves without a single argument. Try this. The next time someone is angry with you, instead of defending, just listen. Listen to the emotion behind the words. Listen to the pain behind the anger. Don't become a doormat. Stand tall, but stand open. You will be amazed. The energy will pass through you like wind through a net. If you are a wall, the wind hits you and creates turbulence. If you are a net, the wind passes through and leaves you untouched. This transparency is the ultimate protection. The ego thinks protection is a thick wall. Awareness knows protection is no wall. If there is no wall, what can be broken? If there is no one there to defend, who can be attacked? This is the meaning of dying to the self. It is not a physical death. It is the death of the separate defensive identity. As this transparency grows, your relationship with boredom transforms. The child hates boredom. Boredom is a vacuum, and the mind abhors a vacuum. It wants entertainment, stimulation, sugar. The adult, the meditator, loves boredom. He renames it. He calls it stillness. In stillness, the mud settles and the water becomes clear. You see the bottom of your own lake. You see the treasures hiding there. You see the source of the spring. Do not run from boredom. Dive into it. Go to the very center of it. You will find that it is not empty. It is full of presence. It is like digging a well. At first, you only find dry earth and stones. You are bored. You want to stop. But if you keep digging, past the dry layers, suddenly water, cool, fresh, life-giving water. Meditation is the art of digging past the boredom to find the source. Many of you stop digging just a few feet before the water. You get frustrated. Nothing is happening. Something is happening. The digging is happening. The purification is happening. Patience. The water is there. It has always been there. Another area where the past rules is in your need for justice or fairness. The child cries, "It's not fair." The child wants the world to be fair according to its limited understanding. The adult realizes that existence is not about fairness. It is about cause and effect. It is about karma. It is about complexity. When you demand fairness, you are arguing with reality. You are saying reality should be different than it is. This creates suffering. When you accept what is, you can work with it. You can change it, but you cannot change what you resist. Acceptance is the first step of transformation. This does not mean you accept injustice in the world and do nothing. No, you act, but you act from a place of peace, not a place of victimhood. A surgeon acts to remove a tumor, but he does not hate the tumor. He is calm, he is precise. If he hates the tumor, his hand will shake. Be the surgeon of your life. Act with precision, not with reaction. This calm action is Wu Wei, action without effort. It is the grass growing by itself. It is the planets spinning without an engine. When you align your will with the whole, you have the strength of the universe behind you. When you fight the whole, you are just a small wave fighting the ocean. You will get tired. You may have spent 40 years fighting the ocean. No wonder you are exhausted. No wonder you have chronic fatigue, depression, burnout. Put down your sword, turn around, float. The ocean is not your enemy. It is your mother. It wants to carry you. If you are ready to stop fighting and start floating, if you are ready to learn the art of effortless effort, please join our community. Click join. Send a super thanks to keep this message flowing like a river to others. Your support is the wind in our sails. Let us speak of aloneness again, but deeper. There is a fear that if you become truly free, you will be isolated. If I don't play the games, will anyone play with me? If I don't need them, will they still want me? The truth is, some people will leave. The people who loved your masks will not recognize your face. They will say, you have changed. You are not fun anymore. By fun, they meant unconscious. They meant you were a willing participant in their drama. Let them go. They are fallen leaves, but others will come. People who are looking for reality will be drawn to you like moths to a flame. You will attract a new tribe, a tribe of truth seekers, and the connections you make will be soul to soul, not ego to ego. One friend in truth is worth 1,000 friends in mask. Do not be afraid of the shedding of leaves. Winter makes the tree naked, but it also allows the fresh buds of spring to form. You are in a winter season of your soul. Let the old relationships that were based on trauma fall away. Do not cling to dead branches. This is trust in the renewal of life. Life is self-correcting. If you create a vacuum of truth, truth will rush in to fill it. If you create a vacuum of love, love will rush in. But you must create the space first. You cannot fill a cup that is already full of stale tea. Empty your cup. The void or the abyss that you fear is actually the womb of creation. In the beginning there was nothing, and from that nothing everything came. You must return to that nothingness periodically to be reborn. Sleep is a mini return to nothingness. That is why it refreshes you. Meditation is a conscious sleep. It is dying while remaining awake. When you are no longer afraid of the void, you are free of death. And if you are free of death, you are free of life. You can play. A man who is afraid to die is afraid to live. He walks carefully, tiptoeing through life, hoping to make it to death safely. What a joke. You're going to die anyway. Why not dance all the way to the grave? Why not slide into the grave sideways, laughing with a glass of champagne in your hand, saying, wow, what a ride. That is the spirit of Zorba. That is the spirit of the free man. Your childhood taught you to be careful. I teach you to be dangerous. Dangerous to the lies. Dangerous to the hypocrisy. Dangerous to the status quo. Be a rebel. Not a rebel with a gun, but a rebel with a heart. A rebel whose only weapon is love and awareness. This rebellion begins inside. It begins by disobeying the inner dictator who says, you are not enough. Look that dictator in the eye and laugh. I am enough because I exist. Existence does not make mistakes. As you stand in this sufficiency, you will notice that your need for things drops away. You may still buy things, use things, enjoy things, but you do not need them to feel whole. You are not a consumer anymore. You are a creator. The consumer tries to eat the world to fill the hole inside. The creator offers his gift to the world to share the wholeness inside. The shift from consumer to creator is the shift from child to adult. The child takes, the adult gives. And what do you have to give? You have your uniqueness. There has never been anyone like you, and there never will be again. Your voice, your touch, your way of seeing, this is your gift. If you suppress it to fit in, you are stealing from the existence. You are depriving the world of you. Don't be a copy. Copies are cheap. Be the original. The original is priceless. God breaks the mold after making each person. Respect that uniqueness, and respecting your uniqueness means respecting your boundaries. It means respecting your rhythm. It means respecting your no and your yes. Do not let anyone, not even your parents, your partner, your society, tell you who you should be. Listen to the inner whisper. It is quiet, but it is the voice of truth. It takes courage to listen to a whisper when the world is shouting, but you have that courage. It is buried under the fear, but it is there. Dig for it. We are coming to the final stages of this surgery. The major tumors have been removed. Now we are stitching the wound with threads of love. Be gentle with yourself in the days to come. You are convalescing. You are healing from a lifetime of anesthesia. You may feel raw. You may feel sensitive. This is good. New skin is sensitive. Do not numb it again. Feel the breeze. Feel the sun. Feel the pain if it comes. Feel the joy. Feel it all. This sensitivity is your intelligence returning. You are becoming a musical instrument that is finely tuned. Before you were dull, loose strings, making no sound. Now you are being tightened. You are being tuned. Soon the music will start, and that music is your life. And that music is your life, but do not play the old notes. Do not play the sad songs of your history just because you know the melody by heart. Improvisation is the way of the master. You wake up in the morning and you do not know what the music will be today. That is the thrill. That is the adventure. If you know exactly what is going to happen today, you are already dead. You are a ghost haunting your own life. Break the pattern. Brush your teeth with the other hand. Take a different route to work. Talk to a stranger. Do something, anything that the robot inside you did not plan. These small acts of rebellion awaken the sleeping intelligence. Now, we must address the final and most stubborn layer of the ego, the addiction to misery. This sounds strange. You will say, Osho, I do not want to be miserable. I want to be happy. But watch closely. When you are miserable, you have a strong identity. I am the one who suffered. I am the victim. I am the one who had a terrible childhood. Misery gives you weight. It gives you substance. It makes you feel solid. People pay attention to you when you are miserable. Oh, poor you, they say. You get sympathy, you get love, or what you think is love. Happiness is light. Happiness has no weight. When you are truly happy, you disappear. You become like a bird on the wing. You have no story to tell. If you meet a happy man and ask, what is your story? He will say, I have no story. I am just happy. The ego is terrified of this lightness. It feels like death. So subtly, unconsciously, you cling to your heavy sack of stones. You complain, you gossip, you worry. These are all ways to feel I exist. I am asking you to drop the sack, risk the lightness, risk disappearing, be a nobody. In this world, everyone is trying to be a somebody. They are climbing ladders, building monuments. I say, be a nobody, be a hollow bamboo. Let existence sing through you. When you are a nobody, you are everybody. When you are nothing, you are everything. The drop falls into the ocean and becomes the ocean. This is the ultimate healing of the inner child. The child wanted to be somebody to get love. The adult realizes that being nobody is the doorway to the divine. You do not need to be special to be loved. You are love itself. As you step into this new way of being, you will notice that your relationship with problems changes. In fact, the word problem disappears from your vocabulary. You have situations. A problem is a mental knot. A situation is a reality to be dealt with. You lose your job? It is not a problem. It is a situation. You have to look for a new job. You have to cut expenses. It requires action, not worry. Worry is the mind spinning its wheels in the mud. Action is the car moving forward. When you stop labeling life as problematic, energy is released. You become efficient. You become pragmatic. You deal with what is in front of you, and then you move on. You do not carry the residue. You eat when you are hungry. You sleep when you are tired. It is very simple. Zen is very simple. It is the mind that complicates things. And in this simplicity, you find the sacred in the ordinary. This is crucial. Do not look for God in the temples or the churches. That is where people hide from God. Look for the sacred in your breakfast. Look for the sacred in your bath. Look for the sacred in the face of your cat. If you cannot find God in your kitchen, you will not find Him anywhere. The inner child felt that the world was mundane, boring, or scary. Awareness reveals that the world is luminous. Everything is vibrating with life. The table, the chair, the window, it is all consciousness taking form. When you live with this reverence, you are never poor. You may have no money, but you are rich in wonder. And wonder is the only true wealth. A king without wonder is a beggar with wonder is a king. You are standing at the threshold of a new life. The door is open, the chains are broken. The only thing keeping you in the cell is the habit of sitting there. Stand up, walk out. The guards have gone home long ago. But walking out requires one final quality: courage. The courage to be misunderstood. The courage to be happy when others are miserable. The courage to be silent when others are shouting. Society does not like happy people. Happy people are not good consumers. They do not need to buy happiness. Happy people are not obedient slaves. They cannot be easily controlled. So when you become free, do not expect applause from the unconscious crowd. Expect resistance. They will say, you are selfish. They will say, you have changed. Smile at them, understand them. They are speaking from their prison. Do not argue with them. Just shine. Your light may hurt their eyes at first, but eventually it may help them find their own key. Be a lighthouse. A lighthouse does not run around the island looking for boats to save. It just stands there and shines. The boats find their way. If you are ready to be that lighthouse, if you are ready to stand firm in your light, join us. Become a member of this digital Sangha by clicking join. Your support allows us to keep building lighthouses in the darkness. Send a super thanks if this series has helped you navigate your own storm. And remember, our ebooks are the manuals for keeping the light burning bright. Now, let us speak of the future. What about the future? The mind is always asking, what will happen to me? I tell you, nothing will happen to you. You will happen to life. Stop waiting for the future to bring you gifts. The future is empty. It is a projection screen. You are the projector. If the film in your heart is full of fear, the future will be a horror movie. If the film is full of love, the future will be a romance. If the film is full of awareness, the future will be a mystery. Change the film inside. Do not worry about the screen. The screen is neutral. Existence is neutral. It says yes to whatever you project. You say, life is hard, and existence says, yes, it is. You say, life is a blessing, and existence says, yes, it is. You are the creator of your own reality. This is the ultimate responsibility. You can no longer blame your parents. You can no longer blame the economy. You can no longer blame the stars. You are the author. The pen is in your hand. What will you write today? Write a love story. Start with yourself. Fall in love with yourself. Not in a narcissistic way. That is the ego admiring its mask. Fall in love with your essence. Treat yourself with the tenderness you would show a newborn baby, because you are a newborn. You have just been born out of the womb of the past. Be gentle with this new life. Protect it. Do not expose it to toxic people unnecessarily. Do not poison it with junk food, mental or physical. Nourish it with silence, with beauty, with truth. And do not be serious. I repeat, do not be serious. Seriousness is a disease. It is the hardening of the arteries of the soul. Laugh at your mistakes. Laugh at your ego when it tries to come back, and it will try to come back. It will sneak in through the back door. It will say, look how spiritual I am. I am so humble. Catch it. Laugh at it. Ah, you are back, my old friend. Come, have a cup of tea, but you are not the master anymore. Treat the ego like a guest, not the landlord. This lightness of being is the mark of the enlightened one. Angels can fly because they take themselves lightly. Devils fall because they are heavy with seriousness. Fly. As you integrate this journey, you will find that your capacity for love expands to include the whole world. You will see the child in everyone. You will look at the tyrant boss and see the frightened boy. You will look at the nagging mother-in-law and see the lonely girl. When you see the child in others, judgment becomes impossible. Only compassion remains. You realize that everyone is doing the best they can with the burden they are carrying. You stop taking things personally. Their reaction is about their past, not your present. This is true forgiveness. It is not an act of, I am holier than you, so I forgive you. No, it is simply seeing the truth. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They are unconscious. Why be angry at a sleepwalker? This compassion frees you. You walk through the world without hooks. Nothing sticks to you. You are like a lotus leaf. The water beads up and rolls off. You are in the world but not of it. This is the goal. To be in the marketplace amidst the noise and the chaos, yet carry the silence of the Himalayas in your heart. You do not need to run away to a cave. Your heart is the cave. Retreat there whenever you need to. In the middle of a traffic jam, close your eyes for a second. Go in. The silence is always there underneath the noise. The sky is always there behind the clouds. Touch the sky, then open your eyes and drive. You are a bridge between the earth and the sky. Your feet are on the ground. You are practical, capable, intelligent. Your head is in the stars. You are poetic, mystical, vast. Be both, be complete. Do not reject the earth for God. Do not reject God for the earth. The earth is God's body. Enjoy it, celebrate it, eat, drink, dance, make love. And in the midst of it all, remember who you are. Remember the witness. This remembering is the golden thread that holds your life together. Without it, you are just a collection of beads rolling on the floor. With it, you are a necklace, and now the surgery is complete, the wound is cleaned, the healing has begun. But remember, healing is not a destination, it is a lifestyle. It is a daily practice of returning to the present. You will forget, you will fall asleep again, you will react. Do not punish yourself, just wake up. The moment you realize I was asleep, you are awake. That realization is the awakening. It does not matter if you fall 1,000 times. What matters is that you get up 1,001 times. Each time you get up, your muscles of awareness get stronger. So go now, go into your life. It is waiting for you. It has been waiting for you for a long time. The real you, not the puppet of the past, but the master of the present. Go and live, go and love, go and make mistakes, go and celebrate. And whenever you feel the darkness closing in, whenever the old ghosts try to scare you, come back to this space, come back to your breath, come back to the silence. It is your home. It has always been your home. You are safe. You are loved. You are free. The cage door is open. Fly,